Okay, we are live. Good evening, everyone. I am so stoked to bring you a brand new episode of Primetime Gaming. I'm your host, Mr. Boomstick XL, and my goodness, this is going to be one heck of an epic show. Of course, now you saw me doing the advertising. Randall Thor, I believe, is running a little late, but we're going to get right into our regular panel, and Rand makes his grand entrance. We will give him the proper boomstick introduction that everyone knows and loves. First up, making his triumph return to podcasting scene, who has taken a couple of days off here and there, a gamer whose passion for gameplay over story sets him apart from the rest of the pack. He's an 80s kid who knows a thing or two about pop culture, someone who's absolutely stoked to his core because the new Star Wars will be happening this week. Someone that I like to call a friend all the way from upstate Canada. Please welcome So Shady.
Hey, thanks, Boom. It is good to be back, man. We've had some amazing reveals, absolutely fantastic reveals. Lots of new game reveals as well on top of that. Just so much to talk about. I could only stay away for a week or two, but I'm back. Let's get to her.
Well, listen, it's great to have you back, and this is going to be one heck of a show, and I think a show that a lot of people have been waiting for because on Friday mornings, Breakfast with Boom, where you were a part of, we really dug deep into what happened with Xbox, and we didn't get a chance to really go into some of the smaller announcements for the Game Awards that do matter. Of course, we will be going into some Xbox stuff because there are some people on this panel who didn't get a chance to, give their opinion on what happened. And of course, it's always great to talk about Xbox, especially when there's epic stuff like this happening. But let's move on to the next panel member. You know him as someone who has undying skills in the game Destiny. He has no limits and no matches when it comes to the Crucible. He is our everything know-how for GameStop. He's an incredible father, husband, and one heck of a community member, creator of the amazing Gaming Forte YouTube channel. Please welcome Guardian Forte.
What's up, Boom, man? I am refreshed. I was able to sleep a little over the weekend and not have to do anything. So, man, I'm back. I'm good. The grind is almost over. 2 weeks left, and I can get back to a normal scheduled business time. Oh man, let's talk about xCloud. Let's talk about Xbox because I'm super excited for everything they did.
Yeah, we're going to jump right into that because I think everyone is reeling from the excitement. Next, we have an Italian gamer who's one of the nicest and most skilled pirate legends on the seven seas. He's the creator of the outstanding Four Guys with Quarters podcast, and he's been gaming since the days of Pac-Man. Someone that I like to call brother and also a community member that helps one and all. Please welcome the Italian Clowns.
Hey, what's up? Always a pleasure being here and excited for today's show, man.
Well, listen, it's great to have you here. Glad that you were able to make it because I know that you've been feeling a slight bit under the weather, and we do appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us tonight. And last, and in no way least, because Rand still has not made his grand entrance, we have a Monster Hunter legend who says it's an MMO life for him, a gamer who will save the universe, confirmed, from the clutches of the profound darkness, who just signed up for the Phantasy Star Online 2 beta that happens in 2020, an Apex Legend assassin on the level of Agent 47. Please welcome Tempest Sun.
What's up, Boom? Hello, everybody in the chat. All I got to say is yes, 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 yes. That's how you reveal a console, baby. Thank you, Phil. Phil Maximus Dominus Spencer.
Yes, well, there's a lot to go into, and quite frankly, we're going to bring up the Game Awards logo because that's what we're going to open up the show with. Obviously, there was a lot that went down on Thursday evening, and like we were talking privately before the show went live, there are a lot of us in this community that are fans of. We're all gamers at our core. And it actually doesn't matter where your allegiance lies, but we play games mostly on all systems. But something happened where after Phil Spencer came out and walked onto that stage, he had a different type of Phil Spencer swagger. And, you know, they did something, and when I say they, I'm talking about Microsoft. They did something that was so out of character, so incredible. They completely shut down the Game Awards. I honestly thought, I actually was numb for about half an hour after the announcement. And to be honest with you, I don't think anything really mattered. Tempest Son, I want to go to your opinion first on this. After Phil Spencer walks out there, not only do we get what the system looks like, not only do we get what the control looks like, we get what the actual system is going to be called. And then, in the most uncharacteristic fashion, he goes and shows something that's a ways out in Hellblade 2, completely bringing down the house. What are your thoughts on that, dude?
My thoughts are the tides of change are coming, baby. This is going to be a completely different Microsoft, a completely different Xbox. He just did everything out of character, and I think we should start expecting the unexpected from here on out. This is Phil's vision. He has an amazing team behind him, and he'd be the first to tell you it's not all him. But this is Phil's vision. This is Phil's first console he gets to make from the ground up. He showed us a game, quote unquote, early in development. So
right.
that throws away that we're not going to show anything unless it's, 18 months away. They have 15 studios. They have more than just the 15 studio games. They have multiple games from multiple, studios that have multiple teams. They have things that I'm excited for, like the Phantasy Star Online 2. That might be a timed exclusive, but guess what? A year's a long time. So, we got that to look forward to. There's just so much happening, and nobody expected them to do this. One, nothing like this has ever been done at the awards show. I think with this reveal alone, he legitimized the Game Awards more by doing this. How's the Game Awards going to top this? Really, they're not going to have how are they going to top it? I don't really know what they're going to do to top that. I couldn't believe it. I wish Rand was here right now, because I wasn't even going to watch until I was listening to the Xbox 2. So shout out to Jez and Rand. But I was listening to that podcast, and he had the crazy theory that they would show it on stage. I didn't think that would happen, even though
no one did, dude. Trust me when I tell you, you are not the only one.
Yeah, I didn't think it was going to happen. But you know what? Just because of that, I was like, what the heck? I went ahead and I watched it, and that second, beautiful trailer, by the way, though, that old time recording of like old time voices from like the 1940s and 50s, the way it makes your voice sound. I love hearing stuff like that in like, recordings and trailers and stuff. To me, it always gets me. So I'm like, I don't know what the heck they were going to show, but just from the trailer before I saw Master Chief, I was hooked. I was like, this is an amazing trailer. When I saw the car zoom by, I started like, I was like wondering, what the heck is this? I didn't know, but just the soundtrack, the sound of the trailer, everything was perfect. But when you see Chiefs, hopping over something and shooting his gun, dude, I was like, your heart just has to sink. You're like, that is the Master Chief, baby. It's like, that is him. What the heck is this? And even though they showed the prism and it was twirling around, you still didn't quite know. You thought, could this actually be it? But man, when they showed the box, oh my gosh, I don't know. It's so exciting. Like, I know where I'm going to put it in my house already.
Wow.
I know where it's going. It's so cool. It looks so neat. I've seen so much positivity around the box itself from almost everybody. I mean, some people aren't quite sure on it, but for the most part, it has so many big YouTubers, sites that normally don't give a crap about Xbox. It's got everybody excited. This was the right move. This is the move nobody expected them to make, and people are going to be talking about this for months. And to me, it seems like a massive head start. Phil just whipped it out, threw it on the table, and said, "How you going to deal with this?" I don't think you can.
I love it. It's great.
So that's my take.
Well, I mean, listen, no one has talked about this. I'm going to bring up something and that it's completely speculatory. I want people to understand this is just my personal feeling about it. I talked with Cognito from ILP because we talk on a regular basis. We talk at least a couple times a week. We're friends outside of the podcasting scene. And I want to bring up something. And Shady, I want to go to you first because, Shady, as we all know, You are someone that does not or will not back down from a fight. And I love that about you. I love the edginess that you bring to the shows that you're a part of. One of the tropes for Microsoft as a company is that Phil's that good guy, right? Phil the good guy. He doesn't have a mean bone in his body. He's not going to do anything out of characteristic. The one thing that was, I think, the standout thing of the Game Awards, it surrounded Kojima. And I think that the world's eyes were going to be on this show because of how can I say this? How decisive the gaming community has been over not only him as a developer and / director, but the game itself. It had tons of hundreds, but it had a bunch of, really low scores, right? And the world's eyes were going to be on this particular program simply because, one, it's the Game Awards, right? It's the only one of its kind. It is a big deal. I mean, Jeff, he came out there. I think he said it was being televised on 50 different countries, as well as all of these publications that were putting it out there. So, I mean, there were a ton of people watching. And this is where I want to get your opinion on this. Now, I said this to Cognito. I'll say it publicly right now. I think that Phil Spencer was well aware of how many eyes were going to be on this event. And again, this is completely my opinion on this. I actually think that Phil Spencer and Microsoft used Death Stranding and Kojima against Sony. And how do I come to that conclusion? Well, very simply, they did something never before done in the history of the Game Awards. Sure, it's called the Game Awards now, and I believe there's been a total of 5 or 6 of them. But this goes back to the Spike Awards for many, many years. And nothing, and I mean nothing like this, has ever been done where you have the head dude from a company come out and not only unveil the next generation console, but give you a game to go with that next generation console. So there's some visual acceptance from people watching this. And it completely, like I said earlier, shut down the entire Game Awards in a way. I mean, you want to talk about the biggest mic drop moment in the history of this generation. It's certainly the mic drop moment of 2019. Do you think that there's any credence to what I'm saying, Shady?
Yeah, I do. I really do. Like, obviously, a lot of people do watch the Game Awards, but it's not just a lot of people. It's a lot of varied people. It's people from all fan bases. You got Nintendo fans, PC fans, PlayStation fans, Xbox fans. They're all watching the Game Awards. It's not like a PlayStation only show or an Xbox only show or Nintendo Direct, which is generally going to skew to the all around like super hardcore gamer, the content creators, and then of course the fans of those brands. So I think this was brilliant because everyone's watching. So you got PlayStation fans being exposed to the reveal of the new console. Same with Nintendo fans. Same with some PC guys. Everyone in the industry was watching as well. Like a lot of the media, of course, was there. Developers were there in attendance. So I thought it was brilliant. It's never been done. We don't see a console reveal at the Game Awards, so no one was really calling it outside of GameStradamus Randall Thor 19. My God, like I said, you rub shoulders with Phil Spencer. He claims predictions. I don't want to accuse him of having inside knowledge, but I'm just saying he's right all the time. And some of the craziest shit I'd heard, no one in this community was just like, at the Game Awards, I predict the new console reveal. But Rand did on the day, and I was blown away, absolutely floored that it happened. I thought it was amazing. I liked the trailer a lot, as I spoke on the last show. I like the shape. It screams power to me. It's a lot smaller than most people are thinking. I'm convinced of it. It's nowhere near. It's like a little bit the same height as your X about, and then like a controller wide and thick. That's it. It's not like some gigantic PC tower or refrigerator that some of the memes are passing around. Although I love that one. My favorite meme is still the Schwarzenegger with Phil's face and the giant slauncher on the shoulder.
You mean this one right here?
It's the best. Yes, exactly. That one pick alone is going to sell consoles. I'm convinced of it. It looks good, man. It makes me laugh. I like that. I thought it was good, man. The reveal was quite frankly pretty fantastic, and especially coming like Microsoft. I think all they had the entire show was Gears going up for best performance with Kate, right?
Yes,
That was it. And
I
they
mean, I
did
think
not. They
Gears was
didn't
the
win
best
that.
action title as well.
Okay, so
yeah.
you know, a Microsoft title was mentioned twice as far as the awards given out, and they didn't win. So you know, year after year after year, we're constantly hearing that it's a PlayStation awards show at the end of the day because they're constantly winning either Game of the Year or Best Graphics or Best Narrative or Best something. You know, Sony wins awards, all the power to them. Xbox didn't win anything this year, and instead, they're still the talk of the town. Like they came out and just swinging. I love the way Tempest dropped it, man. It had me thinking of Grand Theft Auto 4 in the men's room with Baz Rutan. He just whip it out. What are we going to do about this? I loved it, man. That was my favorite skit ever in that game. I watched it an unhealthy amount of times. But yeah, I thought it was a huge power move. They came out first. They came out swinging. If you go and read, I believe it was GameSpot that had some more not inside, but just more info on the title. You know, 12 teraflops. This thing is going to be a monster, an absolute monster. I cannot wait for it. Full on back compat with everything that works now. We bring our controllers forward, which is the first time ever again. I am so excited. We got Game Pass, so day of launch, we're going to be, so many games are going to be available the second this thing is in your hands. It's insane. And I was not expecting it to come. So when it did, I had goosebumps, man. Like in the chat I felt like a Highlander who just cut off a rival's head, getting the quickening. Lightning's coming down from the ceiling, man. I was like electric. Hair was standing up, goosebumps. I was blown away. I loved it. Huge props to Microsoft on their marketing team on that one. It was brilliant. It is the talk of the internet since.
You know, it's funny. Before I get to Forte, I have to thank Darth Mayhem in the chat for dropping a $3 super chat. He says Xbox being showcased to all gamers, not just X fans. That actually is a great point. And our very good friend, I think everybody might know this name. His name is D Black Raven. He's in the chat. He dropped me a DM just before we went live that has some pretty interesting stats that I kind of want to read out live on the air. He showed me a picture of YouTube with the Xbox Series X world premiere in 4K. Not only is it number 29 on trending, it currently has 8.2 million views since Thursday and a whopping 236,000 likes. Now, I'm going to say this. I may not be Nostradamus. I am going to tell you, though, that this is good signs for Team Xbox because obviously they dropped the information first. They dropped it in a way where no one expected it. And you know what's funny? When you talk about this particular event, most of us believed that XO19 was going to be Microsoft's way. At least I believed it was going to be Microsoft's way of, you know, ending 2019 with a bang, like, you know, going into the new year with their, I mean, like completely, having your shirt ripped off and showing everything. And, you know, listen, I enjoyed XO. In fact, I enjoyed XO quite a bit, but I don't think anyone could have expected this. Now, obviously, Gaming Forte, you've had some stuff to talk about, but I kind of want to talk more specifically and about the controller. Now, you know, what they did live on the air, you know, showing the controller, showing the system, giving us a name, giving us the new trailer. It was just back to back craziness. But the controller has a share button. And I know that people are going to be like, well, you know, Sony did that X amount of years ago, so suck it, Xbox. But you know what? This is something that, as great as this controller is and was with the Elite controller and just the overall design of the Xbox One controller, which in my opinion is probably the best controller ever made, they found a way to make it better, Forte. How is this possible?
So it's possible because Microsoft is always iterating on that controller. People always talk about Microsoft brings out way too many controllers throughout the course of a generation, and I tend to agree with that with the different colorways. But when you do stuff like that and you're always refining and redefining what you're doing with your hardware, it becomes better. So I guarantee you they had this design locked down a long time ago, and they were like, hey, when we do our next gen system, this is the prototype we're going to go with, and that's what we have now. Not only does it have a share button on it, which if you're on PlayStation is an amazing thing because it's literally one button press and you literally can upload and share all your content. Now we can do that on Xbox, but they actually took a little subtle thing away from the Elite controller and they redefined the D-pad. It looks like it looks like the disc that comes with your Elite controller now.
Yeah.
Well, my Elite has a standard plus sign on it. Like, I don't use that disc.
Yeah, I was gonna
jump in. I don't like the disc. Like for fighters, for me, if I'm trying to do like a fatality and it's just forward back, so many times I end up jumping forward towards the guy or jumping back. Like it's the accidental diagonals for me. I haven't been a fan of that disc D-pad since way back in the like Super Nintendo Genesis days. I always preferred the standard cross myself. But speaking with like Graphic God today, he plays with one hand for those that don't know, and he said that it's just easier for him with a disc D-pad. And I can imagine for some other people preference outside of maybe ease, but I hope that we can pull that off and plop a standard one on, kind of like we can with the Elite. That would be ideal. Otherwise, the controller is wicked looking. The buttons look good. The bumpers look good. Share button, can't go wrong with that. But that D-pad, it jumped out at me and I was like, no. We also don't know if it's an internal battery or not yet. I hope it isn't.
Yeah, exactly. And then another thing is angular wise, they made it a little bit more closer to fit for your hands. So even if you got bigger hands, smaller hands, it fits a little bit better in your hands.
Yeah,
so
it's more tighter. Yeah,
it's a more tighter fit. I think it's a good move. Overall, I'm just excited for the system in general. It has been no secret that I have been one of the few people in the community that have said, I'm going to PC to play my games because Microsoft allows me to do it. I am not ashamed of it. It is something that Microsoft allows me to do, and I'm going to take advantage of it. But it still doesn't mean I don't play on my Xbox One X. But I always told people, I'm not buying the next Xbox unless they give me a reason to do it. And when I saw the box, I was in two places. I was in a party with Luca and Slow Mo Backslap, and I was streaming with the Iron Lords, and Boom was there. And when this system was shown, the first thing I was speechless. First of all, I was looking at the thing and I was like, dude, that's a server. It looks like a mini ATX build. Mm-hmm. And in my mind, I'm thinking as a person that plays on PC, that's a game changer because that design was chosen for a reason. It wasn't for any kind of stylish look. It was all about function. And when I saw it, I was like, my God, these leaks might be 100% true because in order for that function of that form style they had, I was like, they can definitely push some real power through that. And guess what? The Xbox wasn't enough to just make me do that. I was just sitting there like, okay, they got a powerful system now. What's this power system going to do? And I know we're going to talk about this even more later on, but when they showed what they showed, the game that's going to be powering this beautiful system, that's when I was like, I'm buying an Xbox. Mm-hmm. I can play these games on my PC. Yes, they're easy to do. All these games are going to be cross-gen with Xbox and Game Pass, so you'll be able to play no matter where you're at. But there is something to be said about the ability to just put a game into your system and load it up and not have to deal with driver issues or anything like that. If I can get a console that does that seamlessly, giving me 1440p, 4K, 120 frames per second, which this system can do, is compatible up to do, then I'm 100% there. And I literally had to swallow all that pride and say, guess what? Even if the system comes out at $600, I'm purchasing it day one because Microsoft has officially brung me back into the ecosystem. Now, this is the beginning. This is the bench. They have set a standard. This is the bar that they set it at. I am super impressed that they were able to pull this off at the Game Awards. And the one thing you talked about was Jeff Keighley, like all the negative conversations was going on with the Game Awards with the whole Death Stranding and Kojima. Normally stuff like this doesn't leak. I mean, does leak. The fact that this didn't leak is the most incredible thing ever. But I have a theory why it didn't leak. The reason is I think it didn't leak is because so much negativity was squarely down on the Game Awards just because of what was going on with Death Stranding. Yeah. And everybody was just fixated on that. They were able to backdoor everybody because nobody was looking to the signs that were out there. And Rand talked about this on the Iron Lords yesterday. There were things out there. That's why he was able to predict in his thing that he said that he thought they might show it. because there were little tidbits out in the wild that kind of spoke to them probably doing something like this at the Game Awards, but nobody picked up on any of it because they were so fixated on everything else that was going on there, and they were able to surprise everybody because nobody was looking. And that is the most incredible thing about this whole reveal. And Microsoft and Phil Spencer, people keep calling him a shield. They call him a liar. They call him this. They call him that. I just called the man a realist. He's a gamer. And overall, he said what he was going to do. And he hasn't really kind of stepped away from that. You know, people always say he's lying about this. He lies about that. Well, some stuff he gets very bullish and says what he wants to do. But the man, yes, he runs Xbox. He's not the head of Microsoft. He still has to answer to people above him on the things that he wants to do. And this system basically tells you that he's still listening to us. And now we know one of the big developers he has is making that AAA mature rated game that everybody wants. Now, just start looking forward to the other companies, the other developers to do that same thing. But this was mind-blowing. I don't even remember 15, 20 minutes after that what happened on the Game Awards because I stopped thinking about anything other than Xbox. It was amazing.
No, it certainly was. And, you know, like I said, what they accomplished was unprecedented. It's been pretty spooky how quiet Sony has been. Now, obviously, it would be foolhardy to suggest that one company doesn't have an inkling what the other company is doing. Though I think I honestly have to say that this information was so close to the vest that it might have been considered skin on the body, because Jeff knew about it, obviously, and we know how he accidentally on purpose gave up the information on the Xbox One X going back a couple of
Think about all the companies that actually had this day one. You know, IGN had an article the moment it was
GameSpot had one ready to go.
Windows Central. So all of these like so-called these publishers, these journalists, they already had it day one. And to see that they were all able to keep this under wraps without it getting sucked out was truly incredible. I've never seen anything like this across the industry.
Oh, my bad.
No, come on in.
This is related to Xbox and what we're talking about, but like one of the number one things that Xbox has been getting criticized is about the name. Well, they literally just released something on Business Insider. We are supposed to simply call it Xbox. This is what I thought it was, and people were just blowing it out of proportion. The X is simply just a series in the Xbox family.
Yes.
Microsoft is telling us we're just simply supposed to call it Xbox. It's like a reboot of the whole thing. And to me, that's important for a couple of reasons. One, this is a different Microsoft now. They are getting ahead of this stuff. People are rolling. This is the only thing they can attack us or attack Xbox about is the name. Oh, the name's stupid. It's going to confuse people. Well, they're coming out and they're setting the record straight. You're just calling it Xbox. And if you want to get specific with which one you want to buy or which one you're talking about, you say the Series X or probably the Series S. Yeah.
It's just like the iPhone stuff. You got an iPhone 11, but do you have the Pro or it's the regular 11? It's no different. It's still an iPhone 11.
Exactly. And the other thing about this is just think about what this means. They can release another Xbox whenever the heck they want to, and they don't have to worry about name. They could call it the XS, the X whatever, the T, the V, whatever. I mean, you're talking way, way in the future, but they can just simply do this going forward. And if they want to release a mid-gen console that's even stronger because they just want to stay ahead of the curve, always be the most powerful, they can come out with the XS, or whatever. So I don't know. I just think it's an interesting bit of news. So,
well, look. The bottom line is this, we have all at one point or another, maybe it wasn't this show, maybe it was a show that you were on before, maybe it was Breakfast with Boom, maybe it was the Xbox Factor podcast, shameless plugs. I don't know. But we've all been critical on how Microsoft has handled this particular generation. And I think that the gauntlet has been officially taken off and thrown to the floor. And Clowns, I have to go to you next on this, because obviously, you know, you've been covering Microsoft and also Phil Spencer for quite some time. And some people, like I said in the opening, some people consider him weak because he's a good guy. And I think if you're one of those people, one, you're a fool for thinking that. And two, just because you're a good guy doesn't mean you don't have teeth and fangs. You know, remember, you have to, you know, when you smile, right, those fangs can come out. And I think that once again, the swagger, the difference, the aura that he presented to not only Xbox fans, but the gaming community as a whole that was watching this. A good friend of the show, Gotham Guy, who's in the chat, had sent me a video where I guess someone had taken a video and put it up there of the eruption that took place. Now, talking about it gave me goosebumps. Listening to it multiple times gave me goosebumps, because it's one of those. I mean, you got to think about this for a second, folks. If you watched this live, you were a part of this. You were a part of something that has never before been done at the Game Awards, one of the biggest events, right, for gaming. It is the Academy Awards of gaming. Now, granted, I have been critical, and I was openly critical on how the whole thing with Kojima was handled. I'm not going to go into that, but at least I kept it 100. But I wasn't going to not watch it, because at the end of the day, I'm there to support the developers. I'm there to get excited about the games, because I'm a gamer at the end of the day. Clowns, for you personally, what were your takeaways with this reveal? Clowns, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. To be honest with you, Boom, I was kind of shocked. I mean, I knew Xbox had to do something special at this show, right? Because it's usually like what everybody's basically said is that it's kind of like the PlayStation Awards. And Phil's on the board, and I think he hears a lot of us hardcore fans always complaining about this stuff, even though he's on the board, and you know, he probably gets a vote in some of these titles that get awards and whatnot. So I think his plan to all of us hardcore fans was like, you know what? We may not have a great Xbox show at the Game Awards, so let's make one. Let's make this announcement right at the awards tonight. And it surprised everybody, man. So I was really excited he did this, because I think that was a very risky move on a preferential, you know, a preferential PlayStation formatted show. And I think the new design also took a lot of people back, and I think that's good for Xbox. I think it's like a fresh start. You know, this is Phil's version of Xbox. This is how he's going to move forward for us, the fans.
No, that's a great point. It's certainly a great point, and I would say that without sounding like a fanboy, this was the exclamation point on 2019 that I think most of us were hoping that we were going to get. And to be honest with you, I think that given 100 guesses, probably would not have believed for a second that not only were they going to give us the name and what the console looked like and the controller, but then I guess the cherry on top of the very large fudge banana sundae was, of course, the reveal trailer of Hellblade 2, which is still, I mean, that's apparently running in-game engine. So that's the kind of graphics you're going to get from this monster. And it was, I mean, like I said, I've watched that trailer probably about a dozen times already. And I just love that it has such a, I guess, death metal kind of a feel to what she's chanting. And it was epic. And I think that it was, again, the biggest thing that happened at the Game Awards. And for me personally, which of course I was with Forte and Cognito and a few other people, we were doing a live reaction on the Iron Lord's channel. And I was talking to Cognito today. I don't even remember what I said. Like, I don't know. I don't even know what my reaction was, because I know I was listening to the Iron Lords yesterday, which if you missed that show, my God, you have to listen to it. 3+ hours. I mean, the talent that was on that panel was ridiculous. And it just was a really fun show with a lot of laughs. Like a guy like Kid Smooth, who we got to get on this show, because he's been on Breakfast with Boom. He was talking about his experience, how he was screaming so much that his wife got annoyed at him. And I mean, that's the kind of excitement that this announcement brought to the Xbox fan. I believe this is something that we've really been waiting for. But I want to kind of talk about some of the smaller announcements that kind of got pushed to the side because of this. But before I get into that,
I just wanted to one
Sure.
second. I want to say the timing of that trailer and whatnot, and then the follow up to Hellblade, I thought was an awesome move by Microsoft as well.
yes,
Because like Ghost of Tsushima was gorgeous up until this event. People were convinced that was running on PS5 hardware. It looked so good. And then after seeing that Hellblade stuff, it was like a big reality check on what next gen games are actually going to look like. And for the rest of the show, all those games, even the Godfall game, didn't quite look as good as Hellblade 2 did. That set a new bar for like facial animations, mouth movement, muscle on the face. Like the eyes looked actually like a living person, not the soulless husk
yes.
of an AI that we always see in games. Like it just set a new standard for graphics. And that's in-engine. There was a cutscene, but it's not CGI. That was in-engine stuff. The game will look like that.
Yeah, well,
insane. Like, whoa.
Yeah, the game's cutscenes in most games, they're in engine. I mean,
they are. That's right. And like
yeah,
they might be able to push
yeah.
a few extra particles here and there because it's controlled. But by and large, those in-engine cutscenes are what the games look like today. And I expect Hellblade 2 to look just like that. And to have it be relatively early in a 3.5-hour show, I thought was huge because it had everyone talking for the whole show about Xbox. And again, it just showed all these other games as like, not that they didn't look great and I want to play many of them, but it really highlighted just what a next-gen game is going to be. And I think like it would have gone great at the end of the show. It would have gone better at the end of the show than that Fast and Furious reveal did for the show. But for Microsoft, having it where it was, I think was an absolutely a brilliant move as well as just revealing it in general. But the timing was awesome in that show. It was early.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it led off the show, and it was again. I don't even know. I had to actually go back and rewatch it because there was a lot of the stuff that I just glanced over or was so busy talking about. Because I mean, obviously, Forte, you remember the show we were doing. A lot of us weren't even paying attention to the awards, even some of the big reveals. We were just so taken aback by this announcement that we glanced over the show. That's why I kind of want to, again, we're going to kind of put the Xbox thing to bed because obviously, again, I could do a 2-hour show just talking about how excited I am. But you guys, you've heard my excitement. Everybody in this panel kind of gave their thoughts. But before we, again, keeping with the Game Awards, but before I get to it, I have to thank Darth Mayhem once again for the $2 super chat. He says, "No one says, how's your iPhone XS Max working?" Yeah, I think people underestimate the fact that we change. Not we. Hold on a sec. I don't want to be throwing myself into this thing. I don't change phones every year, though I know a lot of people that do. And you know what? That's good on you that you can do that. Me, I keep my phone 3 years before I change. This year I upgraded to the Samsung Galaxy S10. I had the Note 8 for a while, and I don't feel I need to upgrade the phones that much, but it's kind of like the same thing. But getting back to the Game Awards, one of the announcements that really kind of just went right over everyone's head was the Doom Eternal finally getting an official release date. And Shady, yeah. I know that this is a game that you cannot wait to get your hands in. March 20th, 2020. So the first quarter of the month. The first third of 2020, we're going to have some really some hot games. Now, obviously, this shouldn't come off as a surprise, Shady. I have the collector's edition pre-ordered with the Doom Slayer's wearable helmet. I'm going to be displaying that. I'm probably going to do an unboxing. Were you excited for this?
Oh yeah, man. Doom Eternal was my most anticipated game last year, and sadly it was delayed, and that was upsetting. But I mean, as long as the game launches perfect, I don't want that game being slandered by anyone or anything because it launched broken and has to be fixed. I do not want that with Doom. Doom 2016 is like my perfect shooter almost of all time. God, it's just so good. It plays so good, looks so good. And getting up close and tearing these demons up with those melee kills, man. It's like I want that mechanic in more games where you can get up and there's like these wicked animation kills when you're meleeing guys, because Doom did it the best. And knowing that it's coming out in March, it's a little whiles away still, and that window is getting more and more crowded. But I'm definitely be making time for that. It's like tied now with Metro, or not Metro, sorry, yeah, Cyberpunk Metro, for my #1 next year. It's Doom and Cyberpunk for me. A bit hardcore shooter and a hardcore RPG to lay the year down is just already amazing, and that's just the beginning. So we got the whole next gen launching next year. But yeah, but Doom looks great. That trailer was fantastic. I love how they've like doubled, if not even tripled down on the retro look of the demons. Like they're diving right out of those old Doom 1 and 2 games just with today's graphics. And I think that is awesome. It's also not afraid to know that it's a video game. Like you're collecting 1-ups as you run around and health pickups and all this kind of stuff. Like it embraces the fun of a game before anything else. That's one of the things I loved about the last one as well, was as much as the story is great, it's not in your face. You're not watching minutes and minutes and minutes of cutscenes at a time. A lot of it is what you're reading, or if you're looking at like when the dialogue of the NPCs are happening, you can just walk away if you want. Like I think one of the greatest descriptions of the game ever comes from Jim Sterling, and it's just the Doom guy and his Jimquisition. It was the first video I ever saw of him, and he breaks down why the Doom guy is one of the best video game characters ever, and how in the last game he actually shows more emotion and more reason for what he's doing than, like, say, Nathan Drake was doing in Uncharted and whatnot. Is he's like, with a man of almost no words, well, actually zero, you know exactly how the Doom Marine feels. He is there to kill demons hardcore, and he absolutely despises what humanity has done by opening a portal to get energy and all this stuff. He doesn't give a shit. He's there to kill dudes. He's throwing corpses aside instantly. The game is gritty. Doom is one of my favorite games of all time. Like, those original games are still some of the best first-person shooters. They're so fun, frantic, just a strafing mania. Like, I love them. That's what got me into first-person games, was Doom and the original Wolfenstein. So I'm so excited for this next game. It looks like they've improved on everything in all of the right ways, with the exception of allowing me to play that campaign in co-op with a buddy, because that would just be phenomenal. But I'll take it for what it is. I'm so excited for this game. March cannot come soon enough, both for that, and then, like, I mean, right after that is Cyberpunk. So let's do it.
You know, it's gonna. Well, listen, I'm put it this way. Next year, 2020, is. I mean, we already have a couple of games that we know, right? We know Doom. We know Resident Evil 3 Remake. We know Cyberpunk. We know Last of Us 2. We know Halo Infinite. Holy shit! And that's what we know, right? That's what's been confirmed. And if those were the nominees, that in itself would be a very extremely one to navigate. Like, who do you pick? You know what I'm saying? I mean, how do you come to a conclusion that Last of Us is better than Halo, Halo is worse than Doom, and Doom is better than it's just
a hell of a year.
Yeah, it's going to be one hell of a year. It's going to be one hell of an expensive year. So start collecting cans now, or work your art of hooking and get yourself out of that corner.
Hooking.
But listen, you know, that obviously Doom was a big one. Gaming Forte, one of the other titles that kind of shocked me. And obviously you covered this on your channel. You know, earlier this year, Telltale Game Studio was closed down. And honestly, to me, it's probably one of the saddest days in 2019 for a studio closure, because obviously there were a lot of people that enjoyed those games. There's some people that didn't. And they had a ton of original IPs, one of which made its appearance. And I honestly could not be happier. The Wolf Among Us 2 was deep into development before the studio's closure. And if you didn't play the first one, it was one amazing first game. Original IP, original characters, original story, told through the eyes of the big bad wolf, who is a detective. And were you shocked that not only see the revival of this, but that we know that it's coming out?
Yes, but first, Doomslayer, are you ready to rock? Yes, I am. No, I don't need to say anything about that. But when it came to this, yeah, I was shocked. Well, as soon as I saw it, I was like, Wolf Among Us 2. Didn't see that coming. The one thing the thing I'm most happy about is the developers. They're bringing most of the developers are coming back to actually make this game, which we're not gonna get like a second party version of it. We're gonna get the actual experience that they were actually working on when this game And all the rest of Telltale's IPs basically were canceled, with the exception of the last episode of. Even that got canceled. They had to actually bring people back for that for the last episodes of The Walking Dead, the final chapters. So, this game was very, very good. This was like at a point where a lot of people didn't know, like, hey, Telltale games were this and that, and you had different versions of them. And at that point, Walking Dead was like the pinnacle, and then Wolf Among Us came out and took it to another level. I just think a lot of people slept on these type of games.
Yeah, I agree.
The biggest, when you see these games they're games, they're more experiences. And as you play through them, you just basically get more caught into the character development that they have in these games. The fact that you play as a detective, that is the big bad wolf, is pretty interesting. And I'm glad to see that they're going to continue this narrative with this story with part 2. I'm just more happy that developers that were working on this get to actually see their passion project through when it came to this game, because when you talk to a lot of people when they did interviews, a lot of people said that The Wolf Among Us was one of their favorite franchises they did because it was their own original IP. It wasn't a licensed IP that they actually went out and did like Borderlands and Game of Thrones and Walking Dead. This is something that they made, and I just think overall, I'm just looking forward to exactly what this needs to be. I mean, what I want it to be. And as soon as it comes out, I'm getting it day one. And
yeah, me too.
So I think if you haven't played the first one, you definitely should. It's been discounted multiple times up to this point. I don't think it's not in Game Pass or anything, is it?
You know what? I don't know. They didn't mention it.
Yeah, I don't know if it's in there. I mean, there's so many. That's the one thing about Game Pass. There's so many games, you don't even know everything that's in it. But dude, the game has been discounted hundreds of times. You can always pick them up, and especially this holidays, they'll probably do that Telltale bundle where you can get like all the Telltale games for like a good $40 or $50, which is
if they do that, that's a great deal. If you missed out,
that's a good deal.
Well, generally the first episode is free, so you can at least try it out and see if it's even your bag, right?
Exactly, yeah. So yeah, looking forward to it. Can't wait for the next one to come out. I'm just happy the developers found a home, and that's the one thing that's the most important.
Yeah, Christina in the chat saying that I guess maybe I was inaccurate. The Wolf Among Us apparently is based on a licensed property set in the comics under DC. See, I
remember hearing that too.
Yeah, I had no idea.
I just didn't know if it was accurate or not.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, you make mistakes, you admit it.
It's relatively obscure at the least. It wasn't like, Superman or Batman. It wasn't something that was already like world renowned. It was pretty obscure.
Yeah, it's not like the other IPs. Like the ones, like all their other IPs, you don't have to go looking for.
That's right. You knew what Walking Dead and Game of Thrones and Batman were. Like, The Wolf Among Us, I had no idea what it was. Zero. And we have all the games. I thought it was just like a werewolf game. So when I first turned it on, the menu music like instantly jumped out at me. I absolutely love that type of music. So that got me like the Stranger Things type music for the layman out there. I can't even think of the word myself. I'm calling other people layman. I'm a layman, goddammit. But I love that type of music, man. Like the 80s type of techno. So I'm like, I really like that. And then the game is very mature. And like you said, you're a detective and you're out there looking for types of murders. Fable land. It's like a whole bunch of weird fantasy, fairy tale characters that live in a different part of society. They're kind of been ostracized and stuff. It totally blew me away. I had no idea what this game was, and I thought it was awesome. I still haven't beat it yet because I took too much time off. Like with some of these Telltale games, you take off a month or two.
You forget stuff.
I don't like going back to a story heavy game and I don't know all the ins and outs, especially when I'm the one making the decisions. Should you kill this guy? I'm like, I don't know. Did he help me in the past? I don't remember. Yes, kill him. And it kind of sucks. So I like to know. So I'm gonna have to go back and replay it. But I loved it a lot. It really surprised me. It was very mature. There's like all like nudity and stuff in the game, which blew me away.
Yeah, it was surprisingly adult for sure.
Yeah,
surprisingly adult. Tempest Sun, I want to get to your opinion on a particular game that kind of shocked me. It interested me. It interests everyone. I think even Forte was taken aback. One of the most enjoyable and requested eras by players to portray a character from is either, of course, ancient or feudal China or Japan. And thanks to developer 24 Entertainment and publisher NetEase Games, a new IP was revealed at the Game Awards called Naraka. that looked a lot like Lightweight's Bushido blade. And the area of play shown in the reveal trailer looked massive and offered gorgeous scenery. The characters that were fighting one another looked amazing in design and appeared to have some sort of like supers and specials, almost like in a fighter. What were your thoughts? Did you get a chance to see that particular trailer? And what are your thoughts on it, dude?
It looked awesome. It had kind of funny timing being on the same show with Ghost of Tsushima.
Yes.
Ghost. I was called Ghost, but it was also funny that another game in that genre, if you will, won Game of the Year, Sekiro. So the interest is there. I think a lot of people like it. I certainly thought it looked pretty cool. It didn't look as smooth, if you will, as it maybe could have been, but I don't know when this thing is coming out. They can easily polish some of that up, I'm guessing. But it looked really cool. I don't know if it's a kind of like a fighter, where I've seen games like that before, where it's just an arena that you fly around in. I don't know if there's going to be any form of campaign, story, or I don't know any of that stuff. All I do know is it looks pretty robust. It looked like you could do just about anything as far as traversal goes. It looked good. Yeah, it was exciting. I wasn't expecting to see anything like that. NetEase, I'm pretty sure I think they're Korean, right? Or is it Chinese?
Yes.
Korean?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right. I have a bit more faith in stuff coming out of Korea. I play a lot of South Korean games. A lot. Now that I think about it, I play a ton of them. But so I like a lot of stuff that comes out of there. So yeah, I don't know. I'm interested. Is there any news on what this is coming out on? Like what systems?
You know what? No, I don't recall getting any information on it. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't be surprised if it's going to be a multi-plat kind of a game. I mean, if it would have been an exclusive, I think someone would have come out and already said it.
Right.
So
right.
it would. I mean, obviously, it looks very interesting, and like I said, it is an era in gaming where we're all looking for. I mean, like we talked about this on this show before, of how we want Assassin's Creed to go to Japan.
Right.
And we've talked about Sekiro winning Game of the Year. It's an era that I think a lot of people enjoy. The aesthetics are always usually very gorgeous. And this looked phenomenal. It's something I'm definitely going to get into. But real quick, I have to thank two people. First of all, Sir X-Man in the chat. Thanks for being here, dude. He drops a $2 super chat. He says, "Did anyone see the short clip of Halo in that?" I guess he meant trailer. You were talking about Master Chief running to the edge of what looked like he was looking over a chasm. Yes, we definitely saw that. Mr. Festo drops a $5 super chat. He says, "Enjoying the show while at work. Keep up the good work." Well, thanks, dude, for the super chat. Thanks for being here. And I hope that we get to pass at least 2 hours of your work time. And it's fun. Clowns, now this is where I kind of go into just an overall for you personally. Obviously, there was some serious shade being thrown around this particular show. For you personally, what would you rank this year's Game Awards?
I didn't stay up to watch the whole thing because I had other obligations, and there was some things that upset me in the Game Awards, Boom. I'm going to be honest with you. I just felt that it was unprofessional to some extent. After Xbox, Phil Spencer came on stage and announced the Xbox. Geoff didn't say anything. He just, it was like another everyday advertisement to him. But then when Godfall came on and PS5 was at the bottom, he got all giggly like a schoolgirl. I was like, "Did you guys see that PS5 is at the bottom?"
That was an actual reveal. Ooh, in comparison, come on.
Yeah. I was like, you know what? This guy is so full of it, and he's just saving face. He puts Phil on the panel just to look fair. But we all know that the guy has a secret crush on Kojima and probably on anybody at Sony Entertainment of America and so forth and so on. But yeah, after that, I just didn't take it so seriously, Boom. I was like, you know what? It's time to shut this show off, and hopefully I get the Sea of Thieves Obsidian Cannons for watching.
That's
Kudos,
great.
Cloud,
I
man.
actually had it. I actually was watching it in 3 locations, so maybe I do get some free stuff. You never know. You're gonna win a free Xbox or something. So I'm in it to win it. And like our good friend Salty from the Saltiest podcast, he says if it's free, he'll take 3. So you know what? I agree with him on that. Shady, I want to get your opinion on this. For you, what was the biggest disappointment of the Game Awards 2019?
No Batman reveal.
Yes, thank God someone said it. Holy shit.
The game has been rumored for as long as I've been podcasting, for God's sakes, at almost every single show. And I thought for sure this was going to be the one. Like, this is it. It's the last huge show before, the new consoles are being revealed. But that being said, I mean, maybe the next Batman is a next-gen title, and that thought has me excited and willing to forgive it taking this entire generation to get anything else outside of the last Batman, which I absolutely adored. So that was my biggest letdown, was once again, we got nothing out of that studio, or even the other Warner Brothers studio, not even just Rocksteady, but the other one, just no Batman in general. That was my big letdown. Where is it?
Yeah, that's a great point. And well, look, I'll say this: I'm currently reading The Court of Owls. It was I'm a huge Batman fan, and I have no idea why I skipped out on this one. My brother told me to read this when it first came out, and I was like, yeah, I'm life, I just don't have the time. And I have to tell you that it is a massive. One of the finest crafted Batman tales. That it's a massive game, so it would make honestly good sense to want to put this out on a next gen console, because if you're going to involve the Court of Owls and the size of Gotham that it has to be, especially if you're going to involve the Bat family, which includes at least half a dozen characters outside of Batman. Whether you can control them, I don't know. Whether it's going to be multiplayer, co-op, or you're going to be able to, have side missions, I have no idea. But I like you, Shady, was hoping, because we heard it. We heard the rumor almost up until the show started. Yeah, get ready, they're coming. And it's almost like a meme right now with Splinter Cell. Like when you hear Splinter Cell, I've been wrong so many times that it's outrageous. And this is getting into that, the same lane as Splinter Cell, and now it's, we talk about it and we laugh, but in reality, I think it's almost gross.
It is, and the difference is it's not just like fans like us that want it and are hoping for it, but it's the companies that are constantly teasing it on their social media or in other games. They're constantly teasing these franchises, and then we get nothing. Like, I'm pretty almost guaranteed that a Batman is coming, but like, if for them to tease anything on Twitter like they did a few months ago at all, or a few weeks, whatever it was, and then come out with absolutely zero, I think is just a weird move. Like, what are they doing? We're talking
it
about
almost
it.
Seems like trolling, to be honest with you.
A little bit. At the end of the day, we do talk about it a lot. Like every show, all the podcasts are just like, Batman, there's a Batman. So in a way, they're staying relevant without saying a word.
It's true. It's very true. And Gaming Forte, for you personally, what was your biggest surprise? Now, I think the easy answer is the Xbox reveal. But is there something else that showed up there that you were like, you know what? I didn't see that coming, and kudos for that happening.
Hellblade 2, take the next easy answer.
Look, man,
can I help you out? Because I think you're going to forget this if I don't say anything. Destiny winning awards.
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't even. Yeah, you're right. I did. Yeah, you're right. That was surprising. That was before the show happened. But, dude, I'm going to tell you, honest to God truth, once Microsoft did what they did, the rest of that show was a blur. The only thing that surprised me, honestly, was I said Smash would win Game of the Year. Sekiro ended up winning.
I'm very happy about that, by the way, and that's only because Sekiro is a phenomenally made game.
And when it happened, I was like, "Huh," because that was my sleeper. That was my sleeper for Game of the Year, and I was like, "It's got some tough company." But when it won, that shocked me because at that point I completely was like, "This is the best Game Awards I've ever seen." Because not only did the Evil Empire not win, Evil Empire being Death Stranding, if you know what I mean, Xbox put on a great show, And the Game Awards, with the exception of a couple of places where it could have been sped up, I enjoyed my 3.5 hours of watching it. So
I did too. I actually did. I enjoyed.
But Xbox literally ruined 2.5 hours of that show for me, because all we did was look at memes online. Like, you know what? The memes online was probably the more memorable thing of that show after
It
Xbox
was
did what
with
they
the
did.
sex box. The sex box talk was great.
The sex box was real. So I would say Sekiro winning Game of the Year was the biggest surprise for me outside of that. But Xbox literally, I didn't think they could shut people up as long as they did. Just by showing a box.
Well, compare this to Sony tweeting about the PS5 over the last few months just on Twitter, and their fan base being like, yeah, we got tweets. This is insane. We're killing it. We got tweets. That is nowhere near the level of hype. Even as excited and generally excited, I'm willing to give some of these guys general excitement. It's nothing like what's going on right now in just the game community, especially the Xbox side, which is nice to see, of course, because they get shit on a lot. But the hype is real here. This is how you do a console reveal. You don't just tweet it out that, yeah, we're going for the fastest console, and then you take that away as well. But you show it off, you give the name, and you do it at a big show. Sony hasn't been at a big show in over a year. They need to be held accountable for this. Like, get out here and show the fans what the hell you're doing, Sony. Do it quick, I'd say.
No, I actually agree with you there. No doubt about that. And of course, closing out this very long 60-minute topic that I think was the way that you kick off this crazy show. Tempest Sun, what were your overall opinions on the Game Awards 2019? What did you like and what didn't you like?
Didn't like. I don't care if it was an exchange of money to keep the lights on. Ending the show with that abomination of Fast and Furious.
Yeah, it was bad.
That was pathetic, dude. Like,
with those hardcore gamers, Rochelle Rodriguez and
Tenkin,
come on,
Tenkin 2 and Street Fighter. Yeah, man,
not good. Not good.
Yeah, I mean,
street cred lost.
Street cred lost, exactly.
You got to blame Keanu. I'm blaming Keanu for that. He's just too damn popular. He got too viral. Everyone wants that E3 moment.
They wanted a piece of the pie. Yeah, I know.
No.
Yeah, that was pretty awful. I'm sorry. I hate to go there. I might ruffle some feathers. I feel that Green Day's had its day. And it wasn't then. I wasn't feeling it, man. I mean, I like some of their old stuff, but man, gosh, it's like a decade ago now. But
they were there because they had tracks drop in Rock Band or something like that, right? Like, at least I hope.
They had something going on, but I'm just about checked out. I didn't like that,
no,
at all.
The music performances.
They didn't sound that good, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
I've seen a ton of live bands, and I don't know if it was the
mix was off. Yeah, stuff was just off about it. It wasn't good.
They're like 48 years old now. That's what's off about it.
It's true. Yeah, true. But as far as good surprises, of course, Xbox. I mean, that really did. I tell you what, man. To put that at the beginning of we're going to get all into it again, so I just won't even go there. But gosh, I was really disappointed Laura Bailey didn't win for Actor of the Year or voiceover.
Yeah, and I agree.
It was pretty salty. She does. I mean, you can feel it. I've listened to her in a lot of other stuff too, and she just always brings it. Always, no matter what, it's always an impeccable performance. And this time it was no different. And I kind of wish she would have gotten that one. I didn't expect her to win because there's Bad Mikkelsen and Norman Reedus in the same.
What I don't like is that Mads Mikkelsen is like an actual professional actor, and isn't he just in cutscenes in the game? He's not like a character walking around that you're playing being voiced, whereas
I think he's just in cutscenes.
She's way more fleshed out than Mads Mikkelsen was in Death Stranding, just in those cutscenes he was in. He was fantastic. I've only seen a little bit of him, but he was good.
But if you pay attention to anything of how voice acting is done in games, it's so drastically different than trying to voice act for something you have a total script for. I mean, exactly what's going to happen on the scene, how it's going to happen. So the fact that these people can do it, and a lot of it was motion capture too. So, I mean, she actually had to do her part. I mean, it was every bit as good as I can't remember her name, but the girl that does Laura Bailey. I'm sorry, not Laura Bailey, Lara Croft and the Tomb Raider games. She does a phenomenal job. It was every bit as good as that. I really think she should have won. But so those were kind of like my disappointed things. The things I was excited about, I didn't get to say anything about Doom, but seeing Doom again was exciting. It's the only game where I go into the audio settings, I crank everything down about 40%, and I take the music and make sure it's cranked all the way up, and then I just crank
10,
my amp
yeah.
up. That's what I do. That's how I play that game. So I was excited to see that. Seeing nobody said anything about Gears Tactics, and I think it looks awesome, dude. It looks so cool. Like XCOM, that's a good series of game, and if they do it right, those games are really fun. And
oh yeah, it was way more fleshed out than I thought. All those cosmetics that you got to go into, 40+ hour story.
That's what I was gonna say. 40+
all
hour
new characters, a new bad guy. Yeah, no, we're gonna go deep into that on the Xbox Factor podcast on Thursday.
Well, I even heard the main character is Kate's dad. Perhaps his last name is
really
Diaz. So
that's Diaz, yeah. But yeah, think about what Xbox did. They showed hardcore AAA single player narrative game.
Right.
Then they showed Ori, which is like, you can't even call it an indie at this point because it was one of the most impressive looking things just because the art direction. Everybody knows how amazing Ori is. And then they showed Gears Tactics, and it says on screen 40+ hour campaign. Like they're filling in.
They're definitely checking the boxes here.
Yeah, they are. It's crazy. So that was exciting to see more of it because we haven't seen anything since E3 2018, and it was worth it. Now, the only thing I wish they would have said, if it's coming to Xbox, just put it on the thing. Just show the Xbox logo. I mean, you know, Rod Ferguson himself has said it's coming, so why not just advertise it? Just say at a later date. That's all you got to do.
They had the two splash screens were about a half second each, and the first one said available in Game Pass and Steam, and then the one right after said you can get some kind of a cosmetic if you pre-order it or play it in Game Pass PC. So I'm like, well, Game Pass PC or Game Pass, which is it? Which can I play it in? And is xCloud going to be out? And if it is, can I stream those PC games to my Xbox? Like, I want all these answers, baby.
That's the kind of game you can play with touch controls on Xbox.
Yes, absolutely. You sure could. Absolutely.
So I mean, that's exciting. One more thing that I actually was excited about, even though I don't own the game, it was a course correct that I thought was awesome, is the Joker character in MK11 looks so much better than the original promo.
Yeah, the other one looked horrendous. You see, they took the fan feedback, and they actually, NetherRealm got a lot of shit for that. The new Joker design is much better and much more fleshed out than the original one looked like, I don't know, like a punk Joker.
Yeah,
you know, when he was growing up, he became the Joker. He looked terrible.
I'm so excited to see the fatalities he has, and then everybody else's fatalities done on him. Like I want to see the Joker just getting ripped up. You don't see comic book characters in hardcore mature games. Like we even had a DC versus Mortal Kombat game,
and it was nothing like that.
No blood, no fatalities, and I was very bummed, man. I wanted to see like Superman fatalities and stuff. It would have been great.
Yeah, no, it definitely would have been awesome. Real quick, before we move on to the next topic, I have to thank Sir X-Man once again for the outstanding and very generous $2 super chat. He says, watch the Gotham show. It has Court of Owls was in the Gotham show, which was excellent. JD Gamer, dude, thanks so much for being here. Really appreciate it. He drops a $2 super chat. He says, PlayStation tweeted to ruin Gears, MS revealed to stop show. Yeah, I mean, that's a freaking great point. But let's move on to the next big topic that I think everyone's going to be reeling to talk about for sure. Obviously, Left 4 Dead, or more specifically, Left 4 Dead 3, is possibly in the works. And unfortunately, though, I don't think the millions of fans that have been asking for this game to come out by Valve are going to get what they want. And ultimately, I think they're going to be really extremely disappointed. Now, obviously, Valve is a company that has fans really scratching their heads in recent years. The company has seen huge success over the years with two franchises that immediately come to mind: Half-Life and Left 4 Dead. Now, earlier this month, Valve shocked the gaming world with the announcement trailer for Half-Life Alyx, which is in VR. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm not excited because I have a VR headset that will run that. And I honestly, for the love of Jehovah, cannot wait to get my hands or my eyes on that game.
It's got me contemplating dropping like 2,500, $3,000 on the VR rig to run that thing, man.
Dude, it is.
My God.
It looks really, really, really impressive. And obviously, this came out of completely nowhere. Now, obviously, many in the gaming community, and I'm talking many because when this rumor came out, people were like, it was like the forks, pitchforks, and torches in the street are arguably upset because VR in most cases is an extremely heavy investment, and some can't afford to play in that world. Now, thankfully, and I talked about this earlier last week and the week before, I was very, very lucky enough to be gifted the ability to purchase the Oculus Quest, which I have been playing almost every day, thanks to the outstanding and extremely generous Wilmy Hood. But as you know, I've been a big supporter of PlayStation VR, so much so that I rebought the HDR pass-through version of the next year, and I've been supporting it ever since. But in my opinion, I think the tech used to power the VR hardware is going to eventually get more affordable. And I think with games like Half-Life Alyx, the casual market could possibly, and again, this is just possibly, come around to the possibility of taking the leap into VR. Well, new information that Valve is at the center of comes in the form of this last generation's best multiplayer titles, and that, of course, is Left 4 Dead, the franchise. Now, the franchise saw 2 titles released in a short amount of time, and of course, they were instant classics and exclusives to the Xbox 360 platform, no less. Now, momentum is spreading around a possible confirmation that the new entry in the Left 4 Dead series is going to be announced this Thursday, meaning in a couple of days. And they originally thought that this was going to be an announcement at the Game Awards. Obviously, it didn't happen. And now we're hearing that we might get some information this week. And I'm hoping for that. But as amazing as that is going to be for millions of the fans of the series, I think it's going to be intended for VR only. And as many of you, as you know, this is something that Valve, they have their own headset. It's pretty pricey. From what we understand, like I talked about a few minutes ago, a Half-Life Alyx is going to be playable on multiple VR headsets, not just Valve's. Because if it was just Valve's, that'd be some exclusive. I wouldn't buy it. I would just have to be like, well, I guess I'm not playing Half-Life Alyx. But there is hope for the Left 4 Dead fan base. And if you may or may not know this, the team that developed the original 2 titles, of course, that is Turtle Rock Studios, is currently hard at work at the official spiritual successor called Back 4 Blood that could see the release sometime in 2020. And it's basically there. I mean, if you look for the articles where they're talking about it, it is they're technically Left 4 Dead 3. They just can't call that. That's why it's called Back 4 Blood. And it's going to be everything that you liked about Left 4 Dead. It's just going to be their version of it. Now, I have to go to the panel, and I'm going to actually go to the chat with this as well. And I'll start with Gaming Forte. Now, obviously, you work in GameStop, and you see that the prices for VR really haven't gone down that much, and it's been around a bit. And unfortunately, VR is affordably not for everyone, and it sucks. If you are someone that really wants to dive into this virtual world, it is an expensive proposition, and like a one headset could run you the price of picking up yourself a PlayStation 4 and an Xbox One, an S or an X on a good sale day. Mm-hmm. Will you be disappointed personally if the long-awaited Left 4 Dead 3 is VR only?
Absolutely, because I love Left 4 Dead. It was like one of the best co-op party games you could ever play.
Yes.
The fact that that was one of the main reasons a lot of people talk about Xbox so fondly back in the 360 generation, because that was a game that was exclusive, both games, to Xbox 360. And we still sell that game a lot to this day. You know,
Really?
Finding a used copy of Left 4 Dead is like trying to find a needle in a haystack sometimes. Most of the time you can find one, but you can't find two. You can find two, can't find one. And the DLC for that is really, really good too. The fact when people talk about the games they wish Valve would just hurry up and make again, that is always at the top of the list, right next to Half-Life 2.
Yes.
Or Half-Life 3, I mean.
Half-Life 3, yeah.
Overall, I think that's what most people are looking forward to for this game. And the fact that the co-op was so stellar in it, and you could do whatever you pretty much it was do whatever you wanted to do in the game, and people enjoy it. Mixed matching, going through the levels and stuff by themselves was another really cool thing that people like to do. I'm looking forward to it. I just hope that Turtle Rock is up to the task, because the one thing we all know, when people know they made Left 4 Dead, so the pressure is going to be on to like try to deliver on that. But I will take anything when it comes to that versus not getting something at all like we've been doing from Valve over the last couple of years.
I mean, listen, I think that, you know, it's unfortunate that they kind of rested on their laurels, Valve as a company.
Didn't they?
Because
Yeah.
I mean, they had such success. I mean, you take a situation like the Orange Box, right? Do you remember when that came out? That in I believe it was 2007. You know, that one gaming year that just had banger after banger after banger. That happened to fall into that. And you know, you got Half-Life 2, you got the two side stories with it, you got Portal, there were a few other games in there, and at that point, a lot of these titles people had forgotten about, and you brought it right back into the forefront of the gaming community. And they did nothing. This is coming off of, you know, I mean, just think about how much money the company could have made if they would have put their backs into a Left 4 Dead 3. You know what I'm saying? And or Half-Life 3. And it just seems like it would be a big disappointment for a lot of fans if the one game that most people, and you said it yourself, a lot of people are always asking if you think about what games people are asking for, almost all the lists contain Left 4 Dead 3 and Half-Life 3. I don't know. I mean, like I said, I'm going to play it obviously in VR. I mean, hopefully my brain could take it, because that's fast paced. I don't know if it's going to work in VR per se, because it's kind of like a Twitch shooter. So I don't necessarily know how that would translate in VR, but it was definitely going to be interesting. Tempest Sun, let me get your opinion on this. Left 4 Dead 3, obviously, you're a PC guy, right? You play plenty of games on PC, and when you talk about PC, you have to think about Valve. Mm-hmm. And when you think about Valve, you think about two games. You think about Half-Life 3, but more specifically, Left 4 Dead 3. What are your thoughts on Left 4 Dead 3 not only possibly releasing, but only in VR?
Oh, it's disappointing. I feel like there's a place for VR in this industry. I'm actually excited for the day that VR could be every bit as good and clean and crisp as like what we're getting with Hellblade 2. Look at that. That'd be amazing in 3D.
Yeah,
it
sure
would. I've used very basic, you know, the Samsung 3D where you put your phone in. It's nothing compared to what you can get. I know that. But it still seemed really cool. This seems like a great experience, but when people say it's not for everybody, it really isn't for everybody. Me personally, I couldn't play this. I couldn't use VR. I got little kids running around all day, and I'm a big dude, and I don't want to step on my young children.
Good God, no, of course not.
I mean, you know, it's very impersonal as well. I mean, you have this big thing on your face. You more than likely have headphones on. You know, you're sitting there and whipping your hands all around trying to do this VR stuff. It's a very closed off experience, and it's just, so that part of it alone is not for me. Then it's a very expensive piece of tech.
Yeah,
it's not the most money in the world unless you want a really good one. I mean, I think the Alex or whatever they're calling it,
Half-Life Alex, yeah,
that's like $1,000. That is probably too, Xbox Series X's.
Oh, the Index, the Valve
Yeah.
Index, yeah.
Index, that's what's. Thank you. Yeah, it's expensive if you want like the premier experience, and there's a reason why there's premier experiences, and the price fluctuates so much too. I don't use VR, but I know a little bit about it, and you want the best experience you can because it limits and it cuts down on the motion sickness and all that stuff. That's all part of it, and it just kind of sucks to me. I really wish. Make it a year exclusive. But if these are supposed to be legitimately good, normal games just in the VR space, what is stopping them from just a year later? If you want to push your VR headset, I get it, but give everybody else the chance to play it
with a controller, sure.
With a controller. Why not? I mean, if they're supposedly just good, normal games, finally a normal flagship AAA game, it's just a normal game. Oh, but it's for VR. Why can't it just be a normal game? I don't get that. I mean, you are right. When you think of Valve, you think of Left 4 Dead and you think of Half-Life. I love both of those series, and they've been absent for since
decade. It seems like.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, it was literally last generation, well into last generation, that Left 4 Dead 2 came out, and it was 2004, I think, for Half-Life 2. I mean, that's crazy.
Yes, it's ridiculous.
It's
it really
nuts.
is ridiculous.
And the first thing they give us is a VR product, and I'm not the only one that's not going to go buy VR. I don't care how much of a normal great game it is. I mean, I don't know. I'm no expert. I don't know any figures, but I'd venture to say 95% of the gaming community who would probably love to play these games is not going to rush out and buy VR.
Probably not.
Gonna,
no.
Yeah. So, I mean, I know you want to push your product, but why? I don't know. I don't know why you do this to your own games and you limit it. Maybe because they don't need the money. They're going to feel like they need the money if they're putting this much money into the development of these games. So I really hope that at least, especially for me, at least Half-Life eventually, because, Half-Life is special. I mean, to me, I've been playing on PC most of my life when, playing games. And it was just such a game when it hit on 98. It just, that and Unreal Tournament and like Quake 3, those games they're in a whole nother realm when you think about them. That like first era of, 3D shooting and gaming and stuff like that. It's such a special place, like in my heart in a way, for these games. And I just know when this comes out, if it's VR only, dude, I'm not going to play it for a long time. Half-Life 4 could be out by the time I probably play it. You know what I mean?
That makes sense.
It's just disappointing.
Actually, Gunplay FPS in the chat had made mention of it. It's a game I've totally forgot about. And another reason why Valve cannot count to 3, Team Fortress 3 is another game that people have been, begging and pleading for. And they just don't answer the call. I don't know. Shady, let me get your opinion on this, dude, because you had said immediately that you were considering buying like this $24, $25, $100 rig to run this game. Obviously, you are super stoked. You can tell in your voice how excited you are for Half-Life Alyx. But in the same vein, could we see a potential Left 4 Dead 3 to go alongside this other behemoth known as Half-Life? And do you think that this is where they may take most of their mainstay games that we've all been waiting for?
Maybe I could see that. I mean, Valve, like you said, they do sell their own premium VR. And then beyond that, I have heard that they're selling the engine that like Half-Life Alyx was being used on to other VR devs. So they can start making their games on actual amazing VR engine that plays good, looks good, uses legit physics and stuff like. And I think that this is just the big commercial for it, and it is a true VR game. Like it's AAA level that we're accustomed to, but it is true VR. When you watch that trailer and she's like digging through the shelving and pushing the stuff out of the way and grabbing the ammo that she's looking for and jamming it into the gun with, like, you cannot do that with a controller. You can't. That is definitely with your hands using the 2 new haptic feedback type controllers that they have. I forgot what they're actually called, but they're like strapped to your hand, so you can hold them with an open hand, and it keeps track of each finger where it is. If you're grabbing stuff, it takes, like, it doesn't actually have real world weight, but these games simulate it. There's another game out that just launched last week called Boneworks. You got to check that stuff out on YouTube. It is absolutely incredible. These are the types of experiences that I've been waiting for VR. Now I'm just waiting for a little bit more pricey. Like, I'm not going to go and buy a $1,500 plus PC and then another $1,300 VR headset for a couple of games this early still. Tech is only going to get better and only going to get cheaper. That's the way it's been. Every day I've existed on this planet, I don't expect it to change. Shy of a nuclear apocalypse, we're on the up and up, baby. So VR it's coming. Same with AR. I think AR will be better because if it wants to be, it can be full on VR and cover your entire vision with its image. Or if it wants to incorporate your house or your world you're in into the game, then it can do that as well. So I think AR is going to be the true future. But VR, it's no joke. It's getting serious. And I could see them with this other title again, just because so many people want it. It is a big name, which I find odd because there's so many other games that, because there is no Left 4 Dead 3, other games have filled that void. Like World War Z, for example, just came out and is like massively supported. The game is fantastic. There's a bunch, even like the Vermintide 1 and 2 are very Left 4 Dead 2 games, like, and they all steal the same super zombies. This is the big fat one that shoots some kind of acid. This is the guy that grabs you and pulls you away and someone else has to get you. There's just so many of those types of games that really all Left 4 Dead has is the name and I don't know what zombies. I'm more excited for Turtle Rock's game because they're the ones that made that franchise and
Back for Blood I think is going to be epic.
Like, they brought the popularity to this type of genre, really. So I'm more excited to see what they're going to do besides what Valve is doing. And I can understand again why Valve doesn't make games. They make more money as just a storefront selling every game there is than they ever would making a Half-Life 3 and all the other games that people want, Portal 3 and stuff. Not to mention the gaming community. There's a massive chunk of it that is absolutely toxic as hell. If one thing goes wrong and they don't like it, they are on a campaign to drag that game through the mud on every single social platform there is for years, man. Years. So Valve has got to be like, look, we have a gigantic successful storefront here. What if we release Half-Life 3, which has impossible to meet? So if they release a game like that and it doesn't meet expectations and we've got people screaming for boycotts against Valve, and they're like, look, we're here to sell games at the end of the day. So I can understand from a business perspective as to why they pulled back on developing games. And now they're kind of getting back in because they have another piece of hardware for sale and it's going to push VR forward as a whole. Games like this push the entire industry of VR forward. Even if it's just slowly, it's pushing it forward. And eventually, games of this quality will be more the standard as opposed to the diamond in the rough, if you will. So again, Valve, they run Steam. They want more and more VR games to actually be worth buying so they can sell more VR games of everybody's and make more money that way. So I'm all for them using their big franchises as a comeback, as long as they fully encompass VR. Don't just be a game that can be played with your controller and can be a standard game if you took away the headset. That's not enough. If you're going to take these franchises and give them only to a small subsect of their fan base, they need to be something special that truly justifies why they are only available on a VR platform and to justify, let's say, someone going out and spending over $1,000 on their Valve Index. But I'm fine with it. It does suck for fans of these franchises and stuff, but my God, there's enough games out there that I'm fine with some of this kind of stuff happening. Really, grab another franchise, grab another shooter to fall in love with. There's just so many, and I think this is going to do wonders for VR. So I'm giving the big kudos to Valve for sticking to the guns here.
Nice. Italian Clowns, are you ready to rock and roll, brother?
Yep, I'm here, Boom.
Okay, well, listen, I'm just gonna close out this particular topic with your point. But before I get to you, brother, I have to thank JD Gamer once again with the outstanding and very generous $2 super chat. He says, "Are these games Valve attempting to push the VR to all?" It's hard to say, dude. I mean, like I said, for me, I'm excited because I have a VR, but not everyone does. And Sir X-Men drops an additional $2 super chat. Thanks so much for that, dude. He said Valve is making these games because of Epic Games. That wouldn't surprise me in the least. But Italian Clowns, you're a guy that tinkers around with PCs, and obviously, as PCs get more and more powerful, VR is going to get more and more powerful. Are you interested to see if Valve brings Left 4 Dead 3 to VR, and would you be disappointed as a fan if it's only for VR?
Wow. So I want to say this. I think that there's a future for VR, right? But I don't think it's right now in gaming. I think PSVR is a great starting point. I think all these PC VR headsets are a lot better. But I had the chance to meet co-founder of Infinity Ward, Chance Glasgow, at Orlando IX, and he basically told me that gaming VR is not where it should be yet. It should be 90 frames per second per eye for it to be ideal. So a game like Left 4 Dead, if you're going to be moving around a lot and doing stuff like that, I think they should really hold off until we hit that powerhouse to make that kind of VR pop. I would be disappointed, in all honesty, if it is only VR. I think that this Left 4 Dead 3 should come out as a controller and VR based game. Maybe give it options to people.
Okay,
I think because they'd be leaving a lot of fans behind that probably could not afford.
They leave a lot of money on the floor too.
Yeah, and there's a lot. I mean, let's face it, the VR for PCs are still quite expensive for a lot of people. And this is something that probably would never come to PSVR. So I think that I would hope that it would be optional, VR or controller based, PC based.
I mean, that's a great point. I didn't even actually think about that how much money they would be leaving on the table, so to speak, if it only released for VR, which is definitely a small suspect, a subsect, not suspect, of the gaming community. I mean, you take a look at PSVR. Like I said, I'm all high on PSVR, and I can't wait for Iron Man VR. But 4.2 million. Let's just say for shits and giggles, over the Black Friday holidays, people went crazy, and now it's up to 5 million. 5 million opposed to 110 million consoles. Not so good. It's not,
but you got to think that anyone out there that does end up buying a VR headset is going to start buying games for said VR headset. And, and Valve, they take 30% of every single purchase, right? So if they can just push the industry forward a little bit and get a couple more headsets out there, they're going to make more money, I think, than if they just let this game go everywhere, as opposed to being the draw to VR, if you will. Maybe that's just my thinking business-wise, which I don't like to speak too much of.
The only thing I think about that, Shady, and I mean, you have a valid point to get people into VR, because this will definitely push some fans to get the VR headset. But will it be enough of the masses to get the VR investment in terms of loss on the other end of the spectrum?
It depends. If each VR game, let's say, is going for about $30 and they're making a third of that, they're almost doing $10 per sale on rival companies' VR titles that are sold on Steam. So if they can just sell another couple thousand VR headsets based off of these two games, or another 10,000 or 100,000, let's say, go big, that could end up being so much more money than if they were to sell just the individual game to people.
No, that makes
just because
sense.
they make money off of everyone else's games is really my point, right?
It's going to be interesting to see which way they go. Needless to say, it's. I hope for the fans' sake that it doesn't happen, but I kind of want to move on to the next topic, and I think it's a really interesting one, to say the least, and one that I have zero problems talking about. Obviously, everyone that's anyone knows that I'm a huge fan of Resident Evil 3.
Yes.
And not only has it been officially confirmed, someone in there's been quite a few detectives in the community that actually said that the nemesis could be heard saying stars in the Resident Evil 2 demo. I believe the one-shot demo. I missed out on that, and I was wearing headphones. I don't know how I missed out on it, because I would have recognized stars. But you know what? I think that this particular topic is going to shock a lot of the fan base. Now, if you recall, maybe going back a couple of months ago, we had heard that Capcom themselves was not doing the Resident Evil 3 remake. As a matter of fact, they were outsourcing it, and a lot of people got a little up in arms about that. I'm not one of them, because I trust Capcom, and I also trust the RE engine. Well, it has been confirmed, folks, that Resident Evil 3, the remake that's going to be out April 3rd of 2020, is being worked on by a surprising developer very close to Capcom's heart. and has been involved with many big games in his time. Resident Evil fans were shocked to learn that the team working on the game is headed by a familiar icon of the industry. And in the story that I pulled from Game Rant, the icon in question is none other than Tatsuya Miyamani, a former CEO of Platinum Games and a previous veteran of Capcom's development team. Now, he originally joined Capcom back in 1987 and worked on such iconic titles as Devil May Cry, Mega Man, and appropriately, the original Resident Evil. Now, he parted ways with Capcom to pioneer Platinum Games back in 2006, but eventually left the thriving studio to form his own development team known as M-2 Incorporated, which is comprised of former Capcom and Platinum Games talent. Now, the trailer that we saw was only 3 minutes and 9 seconds long, but was more than enough to let fans know that the remake is, in fact, in good hands. And if anyone needs any more evidence in favor of Miyamani's exceptional talent for cultivating brilliant video games, they only need to look at the other successful Platinum games that he worked on when he was the head of the studio. Now, he worked on Bayonetta. He worked on Metal Gear Rising Revengeance, which was amazing, Nier Automata, and Vanquish. All outstanding titles. Now, I'm obviously expecting Resident Evil 3 to possibly, quote-unquote, be my personal game of the year for 2020, but it's hard to say if in fact that's going to happen because, man, it's just so many games. So, Tempest Son, I believe you might be slightly excited for Resident Evil 3 simply because you yelled over the air. But more importantly, you've changed your icon to, of course, Jill Valentine. What are your thoughts on Resident Evil 3? But more importantly, who's making it?
This was news to me when I was reading the topic list you sent over, and this is extremely exciting. I actually have full faith in this guy. The games you listed that he was responsible for, it's a no-brainer. And what is extra exciting about this is these games aren't huge, if you will, but Resident Evil 2, for what it was, is also my game of the year this year. I'm working on it, technically my 7th time beating it. I'm on second playthrough again. I'm playing through it. I can't get enough of it. It's amazing. And why I'm so excited is just like, I almost don't want to make this comparison because people are going to take it the wrong way, but it's almost like old school Assassin's Creed not even old school, but Call of Duty. The reason why they can do this is because they have multiple teams working on this. If you have the assets and you have the engine, I'm pretty confident you can turn these things out, year after year and still maintain a really good quality. Yes. And the reason I'm so excited is because if this is a secondary team doing this, 1, I think it's going to be just as good as 2, maybe even better. 2, the other thing I'm most excited about is the main team could possibly be working on Code Veronica.
That's actually the one that's rumored to them to come after this is going to be a remake from the ground up of Code Veronica, which was amazing.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, yeah. When you look at this, even if, say, they only sell 3 to 4 million copies, as far as I know, Resident Evil 2 was a huge success for them. Even if they only maintain that amount of success, there's no reason why they can't go through the whole catalog and remake these things, because until you get to 5 and you start getting into some newer mechanics and stuff, let's face it, these games deserve a remake. I mean,
absolutely.
People
what about Zero? Could you imagine Zero being remade?
Yes.
Oh my God, so yes, cool. Please.
Because you can now, that could be a true in this engine, that could be a true co-op experience.
Yes.
And Zero and Code Veronica, they cover a lot of ground too, more so than 2 and 3, I feel. So they can just strut their artistic vision a bit more. I mean, heck, I think they've even said that they wouldn't mind going back and remaking the first one again.
As a matter of fact, they said that during an investors meeting at early in 2019 when the head of Capcom was questioned about it. He said, yes, we would remake Resident 1 all over again.
Why wouldn't you, dude? Think about it'd be a remake of a remake, but just think about the shark section that they added in there. Could you imagine that with this graphics, dude? Oh my gosh, I can't even. Like, it'd be so cool. These games deserve to be remade, and they are true remakes. These are not cash grabs. They deserve all the success that they are getting, and I think every single one of them. The only gripe I have about 2 is I wish the gun sounded a bit more beefy. That's it. That's like really my only complaint about these things. I can't get enough of them, and I'm super psyched. I'm just as excited for this as I am Final Fantasy VII, Cyberpunk, Halo, you name it.
Yeah,
this might be my game. This might be my game of the year again next year. I can't wait for it.
Well, you know what? I want to go to Gaming Forte next on this. You know why I want to go to Gaming Forte? Because he works at one of my favorite stores. That's right. I said it publicly, and I don't give a shit. I happen to love GameStop because I cash in points like people go to the bathroom. And they just released the Resident Evil 3 Remake Collector's Edition, and don't you know that Boom has already $50 down on that bad boy because it comes with a 12-inch statue of Jill Valentine. Now, I have the Resident Evil 2 Remake Collector's Edition, and Leon S. Kennedy is standing right above my head watching my 6 at all times. Are you excited to see what they're going to do with Biohazard Resident Evil 3 Remake there, Forte?
I'm actually right there with you. I have that on pre-order as well.
Nice.
As soon as I saw it pop up, I was like, oh, yeah, I'm going to have to pre-order this. And I said, I already know Boom has it pre-ordered, so I don't have to call and ask him if he's going to pre-order it or not. Man, it's I was looking forward to this. The only thing they could have did was just announce Resident Evil 8. Which is, everybody would like.
Well, the main team is actually working on that.
Yeah, and that's why I said the best thing was that they're actually outsourcing it. And I know some people are a little afraid of that, but for me, the engine's already set. They already built the RE engine, so they already have the assets from Resident Evil 2 that they'll probably just use those same assets, but they'll just adopt it to the storyline for 3 and give us more different varied experiences that they're going to do with this one. I'm real interested how they're going to work Nemesis into this whole system with the way that they did Mr. X. It was like, I'm just thinking like how they can do. That's the only thing I kept thinking is like, oh my God, Nemesis is going to be ridiculous. Overall, I'm super excited. Like I said, the only thing they could have did that would have excited me a little more than this was just announce that they were actually working on Resident Evil 8. But I already know that is a thing. But dude, Resident Evil 2, it was up for Game of the Year. A lot of people said it shouldn't have been up there. I was actually
hell no. Deserved it.
Yeah, it deserved to be up there, but I was one of the people who said I'm not mad it didn't win because I feel like it goes to games that came out that did something new. But Resident Evil, the fact that it was up there lets you know how great that game was. Yes. And that was a game that came out early in the year too. So I'm looking forward to what they have to do around this game. Like I said, I'm just super excited for Nemesis to be in it and how they're going to use that mechanic like how they did with Mr. X, and that's going to be pretty crazy. And the atmosphere is just going to be even more nuts in this one because they learned from the experiences of the first one, the do's and the don'ts, and they'll have a greater understanding of what they can do going forward with this one. And then hopefully we just get more and more up until we get caught up with the regular franchise.
No, that's a great point. Shady, I want to go to you next on this, but before I get to Shady, I want to shout out Tim Brewster in the chat. He is asking a question, and he says, did you see the 10th anniversary for Bayonetta and Vanquish bundle for the 4K 60 on the X, February 18th? I pre-ordered it. yesterday. So yes, I'm all in on Vanquish and of course Bayonetta in 4K 60 on the X. Sir X-Men drops a $5 super chat. He says Microsoft's stop playing and give Capcom $40 to $50 million to bring us Power Stone as an exclusive. Cough up the door. My God, yes, please. Please bring back Power Stone. I got to be honest with you. I don't want to go too much of a tangent and move off the topic, but I just pre-ordered Street Fighter V for the second time on the PlayStation 5 because obviously it comes with everything: 40 characters, 43 stages, 200 pieces of clothes for everybody. $30 is not bad. It's coming out, I think, next year. I am hoping and praying that the horrendous and poor sales that was Street Fighter V has proven that game needs to come to multiple platforms. And again, I mean, folks, I bought it on the PS4. I'm buying it for the second time. I bought the collector's edition. Ryu is standing right above my head as well, right next to Leon S. Kennedy, because I'm a huge Capcom fan. But yes, I can't wait. I am hoping that we get a Street Fighter 6 on multiple consoles. But Shady, I'm going to get your opinion on this. Now, obviously, Resident 2 isn't just a remake. Resident 2 is a remake, and I mean a remake in the finest sense of the words. Are you excited to see what this talented team, packed to the gill with both Platinum Games and, of course, ex-Capcom developers, do with the RE engine?
Oh, yeah, man. I think the last one was like the best remake. Other games are remasters, like the Halo Master Chief, Halo 1 and 2. Those are remasters. There was another... what do you call them? Crash Racing is a great remaster. Spyro was a great remaster. Resident Evil 2 is a full-on remake that shares story beats and plot points. Otherwise, that's a full-on remake. It plays totally different. It looks totally different. New puzzles. Like, it's absolutely fantastic to me. I think that if you're going to bring an old IP back, this is the best way to do it. It's not the only way. A good remaster, it can be fun. But Resident Evil, like 2, 1, those games are dated so bad when it comes to their gameplay, where you have the camera stuck up in the corner and you're kind of looking down and your character awkwardly spinning on himself. It was not a good feeling game. Now it's a fantastic third-person shooter. I'm getting headshots on the zombies. I'm blowing cheeks open, taking ears off. I loved it. It plays great. It plays so good now. And, of course, it looks beautiful. And just because it has... a story that I'm familiar with, I don't think that excuses it from Game of the Year. This isn't the Oscars. This isn't the newest best narrative. This is best game. If it's the best new game because it's a new playing looking game, by all means, nominated for Game of the Year. I think it deserved to be nominated for sure. And any game in the future that is an old IP that is being jacked up to modern standards, man, if that thing's bringing it, then by all means, it deserves all the respect of any new IP. Like, there's guys out there, of course, they love their story and stuff. But I personally, I'm not playing video games for story first. I enjoy a good story when it's there, but it's gameplay. So Resident Evil totally reimagined and improved the gameplay of that series. I loved it. The next game is going to be fantastic. I have no doubt. I've heard that multiplayer mode of Resident Evil that we were seeing weeks ago, where it was like, the one guy playing against the four. Yeah, that's actually included in this game. It's not a game that's on its own. Like we thought before, was like, oh, that's on its own, no interest. Whereas now it's coming with this title. That's huge value right there. Not only are you going to get like a fan favorite Resident Evil, but it's not just going to be a prettier version. We know that because of what happened with Resident Evil 2. This is going to be a new game experience. It's going to be fantastic. And I'm hyped. I'm extremely hyped. And now it's got this multiplayer mode attached. I'm certainly willing to give it a go, but I wasn't willing to buy it on its own. So I'm on board, man. I'm super excited. I'm not worried about it being a different team. Again, the engine is there. The story is there. Capcom likely has a couple of dudes that hop in every now and then to make sure things are still on track and going the way they want. And they've been firing on all cylinders for a couple of years now, almost.
Yeah, since the release of Resident Evil 7 in 2017, they have been on a tear.
Well, it is like Monster Hunter and like they're just
Devil May Cry 5. It's just
exactly. They're doing big things.
Winner after winner. Yeah,
very impressive titles. They review well. They're respected and played by the community. They're not getting just annihilated with microtransactions. Like, you just don't read about the Capcom games like you hear about like an EA title or an
Right,
Activision
exactly.
title.
Great point. Excellent
So
point.
like I'm on board for this. I think they've nailed how you do an old IP in the new modern times here, and they just killed it with the last game. So I think this next one is going to be fantastic. And if they want to go ahead and do, Veronica, that'd be insane. I loved it on the Dreamcast. I actually saw a video of that game on the Dreamcast the other day, and I was astounded at how hideous it looked. I was like, of course I'm going with my memory of it. And at the time, the Dreamcast was the bar setter. It was like, oh my God, these games are so clean. That skin on them.
Do you remember the opening where she drops the gun and she catches it and she shoots the hell? I mean, come on, that was my God.
Like it was just next level graphics. And then I got a real world check on that just the other day on YouTube, and I was like, holy, that does not look anything like my brain does. So if they want to remake that, I'm down. Yeah, I'm down if they want to make that again, because that was a favorite of mine. If I recall, Nemesis pissed me off because that was one of the games early on where an enemy was like truly haunting and chasing your ass down through the game and was kind of indestructible. He bugged me. He upset me. I wasn't a fan of that. I want to take down the enemies in front of me, not run from them. But that was early and I was young. My tastes have changed now, so I'm excited to get back into it and give it another go.
Yeah, absolutely. Anime Heaven in the chat says, "Bring back Dino Crisis. Let them do a remake." And we're hearing, if you troll the 4chan forums, there's been a lot of talk of a Dino Crisis remake, and I think that's going to be coming a lot sooner than later. And Clowns, why don't you close us out with Resident Evil 3, the remake? Are you excited to play this game that actually is being outsourced from the main AAA team that's currently working on Resident Evil 8?
I'm always going to be honest about this, Boom. I was never a diehard Resident Evil fan. However, Resident Evil 5 is my favorite Resident Evil game of all time. Okay. So I'm excited that they're moving up the ladder, that we've seen, 2 and now 3. And I'm just looking forward to the future, because I think that with these remakes, they're getting better and better. And I think they're doing a fantastic job for themselves, for their fans. Capcom's really come back from the brink of disaster after Monster Hunter World and the Resident Evil remake. I mean, they're doing fantastic now. So I just can't wait. And I hope we get to Resident Evil 5 remake, because I'm going to be so excited. I'm going to be jumping up and down the street like a little kid, probably going into the GameStop and just screaming, "Get me the new Resident Evil 5. Hurry up, guys. I need it right now."
Well, listen, I enjoyed 5 a lot. Not my favorite, but I certainly enjoyed it a lot. And I wouldn't mind actually a remake of that. And I want to kind of move on to the next topic, because we're closing on 2 hours. And I think that we can sneak this one in here. You're going to see that I popped up on the screen one of my favorite characters from the PlayStation brand, known as, of course, Nathan Drake. And obviously, here's the question that I'm going to pose. Now, look, in a story that I pulled from the pages of Game Rant, they actually pose a fantastic question, and I thought it would make an amazing topic for today's show. Does the PlayStation 5 need another Uncharted, and is it something that we're going to dive right into this? The Uncharted series, as many know, is one of the most iconic PlayStation games in their first-party vault, and many of us already know it has been a huge success for the platform. The last time we saw Nathan Drake was, of course, in Uncharted 4, and we saw the perfect ending come to the franchise with the follow-up that saw the adventure continue with the awesome Uncharted Lost Legacy with returning characters Chloe and Nadine. Now, as the credits rolled and the final chapter of Nathan Drake's story came to an end, many in the PlayStation community have been wondering, well, what's next for the Drake family, and where does Naughty Dog go from here? Now, as you may or may not know, the Uncharted series, as of this podcast, has sold 41 million copies in total, outselling other PlayStation exclusive franchises such as God of War. But what's interesting is an exclusive that sells that well. The game generated a huge buzz with each console it was released alongside, and could bring big numbers to the PlayStation 5 that's set to release in holiday of 2020. Now, the easy answer here to fast forward from the end of Uncharted 4 is, of course, for his daughter to take the reins of the Drake family business of treasure hunting and starting a new legacy. And to keep longtime fans excited and possibly happy, they could, of course, include a cameo with both Nathan and Elaine, her parents, and even throw a scenario in where Sully and Nathan's older brother Samuel needed to get involved. Now, I'm not sure currently what the mindset is at Naughty Dog and what they consider doing after they pretty much put the franchise and the character to bed. But I mean, obviously the PlayStation 5, it needs to have these big single player story driven first party action romps that the PlayStation brand is known for. So here is my simple question, and Gaming Forte, I want to go to you first on this. Again, the question is simple, but the answer may be extremely complex. Does the PlayStation 5 need an Uncharted game, more importantly, to succeed in the next generation? And can you see Naughty Dog doing another one?
I can see them doing another one. It doesn't need it to succeed, because the one thing we know about Sony, they're not afraid to move on from franchises and stuff. They already pretty much, if you played Uncharted 4, you already pretty much know they tied up the Nathan Drake saga. And then the part that came after that was the standalone DLC, talked about Nadine and what they were doing in the game and stuff. So would it be nice to get another Uncharted? Yes. I mean, you can never get enough of a great game, but they don't have to do it, because even if they was to put it on the burner for like a generation, it wouldn't hurt them, because they have so many other IPs that can stand up to it. The fact that Last of Us is coming from the same developer that made Uncharted lets you know that they already were able to split off the player base. And I think they got a little bit more left in the tank when it comes to Last of Us. I don't think part 2 is going to be the last of that, because Sony likes to do their games in trilogies. So overall, it's good to have another one, but they don't have to do it. They diversified their portfolio across a lot of their different studios, where Guerrilla Games basically now has 2 franchises they're working on, with a rumored third one that they are working on in the distance. You still got Insomniac. You just brought in Insomniac Games, and they make the Ratchet and Clank games, and they have Spider-Man that they're getting the publishing rights from. So it's a lot of. I think the only studio they have that's pretty much the one-trick pony is Polyphium Games, that makes the Gran Turismo games. Every other studio has multiple titles and multiple IPs that they work on a consistent basis. And I think even Ready at Dawn, they still have Order 1886 that they can.
Oh my God, I would love a sequel.
Yeah, I would love a sequel to it. Just make it a little bit longer.
Yes.
So Sony doesn't need it. I think a lot of people are just used to having those franchises and it being like, man, the next Uncharted or the next game from Naughty Dog. And I think that's the biggest thing. The fact that they have Naughty Dog, I think everybody's going to be satisfied regardless, because they're like royalty when it comes to developers for Sony and everything, and also kind of pretty much throughout the whole industry. So as long as they're making games and they keep banging out the bangers like they have been doing, people will be happy no matter what, but they don't need it. It's a luxury that they have it, honestly.
Okay. I mean, that's a great answer. And that's actually a fantastic answer. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. Normally, I don't answer my own questions, but selfishly, I want another Uncharted.
Okay.
I mean, that's for me personally, because it's probably one of the things that made me, besides being a huge Star Wars nerd, what I really liked about Jedi Fallen Order. It had that Tomb Raider-esque Uncharted feel. I really do like that. And I loved Uncharted 1. Okay. Uncharted through okay, I'll put it in. For me personally, it goes in order of this. Uncharted 2 is my favorite of them all, followed by 4, 3, and then 1. I thought 3 was okay. I thought it was okay. 1 was, it was a new IP. They had to make some changes. But for me, 2 and 4, my God, masterpieces. I would love to see a 5. and we'll see. Obviously, Clowns had to break out because obviously he has some family stuff to handle. We'll give him a proper outro when we get done with this, but I want to go to Shady. Shady, listen, you obviously play on multiple consoles, and PlayStation. When you talk about the PlayStation brand, a couple of things come to mind. One, of course, immediately is God of War, right? I mean, for so many reasons. But the other one that stands tall is one of their pillars that holds up the PlayStation brand is the Uncharted series. I happen to love it, and you can tell by my demeanor by talking about this topic. I love Uncharted. Do you think that the PlayStation brand needs an Uncharted 5, or should they just abandon the and maybe move on to a new IP?
Uncharted, like I've had every single PlayStation, and Uncharted has personally never done anything for me. I'd have never played them. I've seen a whole bunch. I just don't care. My gamer buddies that I live with and stuff, they don't care either. Like Nathan Drake, I like to call him Indiana Croft. It's just, you know, it is what it is. I'm sure the game is totally fine, and for the people that like it, there's nothing wrong with that. The fourth game looked like it had some pretty cool gunplay and some combat mechanics. I did like a little bit of that, but it's too set piece driven for me. It's too linear for me. It's way too cutscene heavy for me. I'm just not into that type of game so much anymore. Like, I had to play the first level of Star Wars 3 different times just for different reasons. I was going to pull my hair out. I hate that level. I hate the opening level to that Star Wars game so much. I can't stand it. It's just, hey, because I knocked over a few barrels and I'm 10 feet above you, you're going to have to do a gigantic run around hanging from your, you know, the edge of your fingertips numerous times, jumping onto things that are just happen to be passing by just in time for you to do so. Also, you can meet me back at the top. When in reality, there was like a pile of boxes right beside you at the very beginning that in reality, you could have easily climbed up on, grabbed the dude's hand and just pulled him up. But because it's a video game and they want to do that type of level, we got what we got. And I by the third time I was playing through it, I just couldn't believe. I'm like, this is not fun for me. It's pushing my disbelief. He's supposed to be hiding because he doesn't want to be seen as a Jedi, yet I'm doing death-defying everything for 20 minutes plus just to get to my, you know, shift. No one's going to see that. I just couldn't do it. So I'm not a fan. Let's put it that way. I'll keep it at that. I'm not a fan. I don't think they need it. I really don't, especially if they've finished the story of Nathan Drake, the main one.
I mean, the ending was the perfect ending, to be honest.
Then why not leave it at that and just make another adventure game where you play as someone else in a different world doing something else? I would rather see that myself than just keep doing it because it had a popular name. And like, obviously the game sold a lot, but I do believe that its sales are propped up with the fact that Sony bundles their game every time. So if I just want a PlayStation, obviously I'm going to buy the one that has a game with it, whether I'm interested in the game or not. It's a free game. I'm going to buy the one that includes a title. And more often than not, that's a Uncharted game. So it's selling 40 million. How many unbundled copies did it sell? I'm interested in knowing that number.
That's a good stat. I mean, I didn't go too deep into it. I just pulled out the stat from what I was able to find. Just your overall stat. I wasn't going to.
And that's the same that goes with a lot of any game that gets bundled with the console at launch. It's kind of like, okay, well, anyone who's in the market for that console at the moment, why wouldn't you pick that up? Because it comes with the game. Maybe you're interested in the game, maybe not. Maybe you're going to sell it to someone else. It doesn't matter, but I think that does prop up some game sales when that happens. So, I mean, like, game sales don't make something good. Let's get that out of the way either. A game could sell 100 million doesn't mean it's good.
Still be a piece of crap.
It means it's popular. Like, something happened in this game is popular. That's really at the least what you can get out of that. But I don't think it needs it. I really don't. They've got a lot of IP, as was brought up, and they can roll with those. I mean, and real quick on that Spider-Man front, we've heard squat about a Spider-Man 2, especially a Spider-Man 2 being an exclusive. And I think if Sony knew for a fact that Spider-Man 2 was going to be exclusive to their platforms, we would have been hearing that for a long time already. Like, it would have been screamed over the top, just so you know, this game is not going to go to another platform ever. The sequel is guaranteed here. If we're getting a sequel, not just another Spider-Man game. I mean, kudos to Sony on making that game popular again, because we've had Spider-Man games, many of them in the past. They just didn't do crazy numbers. They didn't get everyone talking. Sony got everyone talking about Spider-Man again, not to mention Marvel was doing their thing in the movieverse, but Sony did. So the next game, it doesn't need to be made by Naughty Dog. Give it to a developer that knows how to make a good game. They follow the formula that's already been established, release it across the board to every platform, and make 2 to 3 times the money. Thanks, Sony. Like, that's really my opinion, is they're not getting that sequel exclusive. I'm standing by it. I've said that almost as long as I've been podcasting, close to 2 years now.
You know about Spider-Man?
Spider-Man 2, I'm convinced it's not coming exclusive, but we were not talking about that. That was just real quick. But Uncharted, no, man, I don't think they need it necessarily. They got a bunch of other games. Some new stuff would be nice. Yeah, and it didn't do anything for me particular. So, I'm not excited if they do one, but I don't think they do. I don't think they need it.
Okay, I mean, well, listen, that makes perfect sense. And you know what? I mean, they could essentially just do a new IP, which I think somebody in the chat had mentioned about Naughty Dog not wanting to continue with Nathan Drake. And I actually think that I've heard them talk about that. They're probably going to move on to a new IP, which would be pretty interesting if you think about it.
Well, there's a lot of people that say that about Gears, right? It should have ended at 3. And when the story had wrapped itself up, humanity had won, and we were able to kind of settle down and have kids again. And then we ended up getting a prequel with Judgment, which didn't sit well with a lot of people. I loved it, but a lot of people didn't. So many people didn't. And then with Gears 4 and now with Gears 5, I mean, not everyone is down with the new story being told, with the new lead characters that are happening. They're just kind of like, hey, maybe, Gears is being held alive by its name longer than it should, at least to some. I mean, I absolutely adore the game. I still do play it. I have issues with its microtransactions, but I love the franchise. I'm glad that they have kept it up. So with that in mind, maybe they do need an Uncharted if there is enough rabid fans out there. Satiate them. You take care of your fan base and they'll take care of you as a company, really.
No, I absolutely agree. 10%. Why don't you close out the night as well as this particular topic? Uncharted, obviously, is one of the pillars for the PlayStation brand. To me, anyway, it's sad that it ended, but it ended with class and distinction. And if you're a fan like I am, who played the games on PSP and on Vita, you know what I'm saying? With the horrible touch controls. Right. Obviously I'm a fan, but I was happy the way it ended. Like I said, it ended perfectly. Though selfishly, I would like to see, at least, if you don't want to involve Nathan Drake himself and Elaine, that's fine. I get it. Maybe talk. Maybe bring his daughter into maybe bring his brother Sam. Maybe bring Sully. Maybe you do a side story like you did with Nadine. Which would be like with Lost Legacy, which was fantastic. I really enjoyed that as well. Do you think that the PlayStation 5 needs this franchise?
First off, it's kind of shocking how similar my story is to what Shady just did. I'm not going to repeat everything he just said, because if I
word for word, please, let's go. Toss out the stenographer. Let's read it out.
Honestly, it's funny, but like if I were to say my whole story, it'd sound almost exactly like Shady's. Listen, I've owned all the PlayStations, and I went out and bought a PlayStation 3 when they were still really expensive, and I bought mine for Metal Gear Solid 4. Played it twice, loved it, and I played some other games, but for some reason, dude, I was just never interested in Nathan Drake particularly, because I've seen stuff on him and it just didn't do it for me, dude. I don't know how to explain it. It never did it. And I did play 3, and it's because one of my friends was interested, and he was like, you gotta play it. All I remember is Nathan Drake has God fingers. That man can jump from like 30 stories below and latch on to this little 1-inch plateau with his fingers and just stick to it better than Spider-Man can.
One of the best game tropes. I love it. I love that trope in all games.
I know. I just like it. Didn't. I mean, regardless, so many people love it. So to answer your question, I kind of think they do need it. People want to rip on Xbox so bad because it's Halo, Gears, Forza. Well, it's probably going to be, Horizon
Zero Dawn,
God of War, Horizon, God of War, Uncharted. That's probably what it's going to be like. It is what it is. That there's sequels for a reason. For the most part, if the sequels are good, the series gains in popularity as it go. You make more and more money. So if they ended it perfectly, though, I don't know the ending of 4. I've heard that before, that it ended very well. So I don't see why they would want to bring Nathan Drake back into it. But I do think they need the series. And as far as I know, I think they're making a studio just for Uncharted games. So do it. I mean, if Nathan Drake didn't do it for me, dude, I'm all for a new Uncharted with a new cast of characters. Maybe that one will do it for me. And I'll have a new series to play. I mean, that'd be great. I kind of think that's what they tried to do with Gears 4. I mean, they brought in a new generation. And although I've loved Gears the whole time, somebody might have latched on to JD or Kate or something like, or Dell, for the new series, a cast of characters. So maybe they can do the same thing. But yeah.
So I'll give you. Okay, so this is the main reason why, and you're right. I don't think they should like completely just not do it.
Mm-hmm.
I just go off of the fact that it's just from an experience like Mass Effect.
Mm-hmm.
Mass Effect 1, 2. There's pretty much nothing Andromeda could have really done to make me love it as much as I love the first.
Oh, of course, yeah,
because you were invested.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is not even putting all the bugs and glitches and the story being all over the place. I can forgive that. But it was like the game just didn't feel the same because you were invested in it as much as you want. Now, when it comes to like Uncharted, people that come into the franchise that never played it before, it's something new to them, and they're like not completely in the Sully and the Claudine and the Nathan Drake saga and all this other stuff. Then it will be good because it will land on those people very well, because just like Mass Effect Andromeda landed on some people really well that didn't play the original saga. I just think at this point, when it comes to, he's talking about PS5, if they want to retire it for PS5 and bring it back for PS6 after a generation that went by and people kind of forgot about it, then they just bring it back like towards the end of the PS5 generation, starting the PS6 generation. I can see that being more of a thing that even the hardcore Uncharted people would love to get back into, because it's always nice to come back to something that you're fond of. That's why we did the Master Chief Collection. So many people were so excited for that, because those are games that people haven't played since they owned original Xboxes. It just, unfortunately, Microsoft didn't do, or 343, I won't blame Microsoft. 343 didn't do a good enough job in making that game playable from everybody off the bat. So I think nostalgia is a very powerful thing, but it's good in doses. It has to be time passed for something like that to catch on for everybody. But I would not disagree with you on the fact that they don't, I don't think they need it right now, but it's a pillar of their franchise. And the one thing that we always celebrate Sony about is sequels. And they're really good at that. And that's something that we want Microsoft to start doing. The fact that they have all of these games they made at the beginning of this generation, like Quantum Break and all of this other stuff, and we're not getting any type of sequels to them, is kind of what the problem is, where Sony has so many sequels. If they were to miss one for 4 or 5 years, it wouldn't hurt them compared to other franchises and other developers. But you're absolutely right. They do want to keep it as a relevant thing. It just doesn't have to be now or the next 3 or 4 years from now.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, it's a tomb. I'm not trying to make a joke, but it's a tomb raiding game. It's an adventure game. So
exactly.
The bones are there. Even just because Nathan didn't do it for me, he did it for a ton of people, man. A ton of people. So I don't see any reason why they shouldn't, in some way, shape, or form, keep it going, because it's one of their biggest franchises. That'd be dumb if they'd be throwing away money. I feel like,
they can take my character, Indiana Croft. No one owns Indiana Croft. Laura Croft though, but Indiana Jones, you'll have issues. But blend the two, brilliant.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, listen, guys, this has been an amazing show. We had almost 300 people watching live. I want to apologize. Rand was supposed to be here. I have not heard back from him. The last time this happened, he got a little mixed up with the times. But I can assure you that it wasn't done out of spite at all. Rand's a good dude. I've worked with him numerous times. Maybe something happened with his family. Obviously, hopefully nothing. It's just a silly podcast. But we will, of course, get Rand back on here and hopefully sooner than later. I want to thank everybody for coming out. I mean, 300 people to watch this show is absolutely amazing. And I'm obviously extremely grateful. Of course, you guys in the chat, guys and gals in the chat, were amazing. I have to thank you for the outstanding super chats that came in this evening. Thank you so much for that. And of course, I could not be here and have a show if it wasn't for this outstanding panel. Now, obviously, Clowns had to go because of some family obligations. And I'll just say this, if you're interested, he does run the Four Guys with Quarters podcast on his YouTube channel. That is fantastic. I believe it's on Wednesdays at 5 or 5:30, if I'm not mistaken. Hit him up on Twitter, and if you're interested, give him a follow and also give him a sub on his YouTube channel. And of course, So Shady, great to have you back in your seat. You bring the passion and, of course, the grit to each episode you're on. Please tell everyone where they can follow you on Twitter, but more importantly, check out the other shows that you are on.
It's so gritty, baby. That's diamond grit, that is. You know what I'm saying? I love being here, man. It was great coming back. So much to talk to. I have such a good time talking games with both the community, panel members, guests, when they show up. Rand, we're coming for you, dog. We'll be finding him. We'll find this dude. Otherwise, we'll have him in a milk carton by next week. But thank you, everyone, for coming out. It was a great time. I am So Shady on Twitter at The Sesh Empire. That's one word. Give me a follow, stand up, get recognized, become an agent. I love interacting with people that interact with me. On Xbox, I'm So Shady. If you see me on there, join whatever multiplayer game I am. Send me a message. Introduce yourself. Tell me why you agree and or disagree with me. That's totally fine. I'm not out to change minds. Just share my own. So thank you, Boom, for having me on again. Everyone for coming out. Happy gaming. I'll talk to you later.
Well, again, great to have you back in your chair, and of course, enjoy having you on each show. And of course, Gaming Forte, want to get you on out of here. I'm not sure if you have to work tomorrow, but hopefully it's not too early. You are our resident GameStop information, I guess, person, if you will. But more importantly, I love what you do with the community. Your interaction with them is priceless, and it's genuine. And when you do these videos, especially when you do them from your store, you're having fun, you're enjoying gaming, you're proving to everyone that you don't fly one stupid flag, that you just enjoy being a gamer. And I think that is what makes you special, and I'm honored to have you a part of this show. But more importantly, your YouTube channel is phenomenal, and I think more people need to sub it and check out everything. As a matter of fact, you guys, if you didn't know, he was multitasking during the Game Awards, because not only was he on podcasting with us, he would mute himself while he was making videos. That's dedication like nobody's business. Forte, please tell everyone where they can follow you on Twitter, but more importantly, check out all of your work that you do, and you are quite a busy man.
Yeah, man. As always, I appreciate the invites as always to the show, man. It's cool to be in here with people that just like to talk about games, and that needs to happen more often. But yeah, Gaming Forte everywhere, YouTube and Twitter. He's absolutely right. I was in a party with Slow-Mo and Luca. I was in the stream with them watching the actual reveal. And when the Xbox news broke, I muted my mic and recorded a video because I'll be honest with everybody. And it's not a secret to people that know me. I make content based on what I like, and
yes,
I try to stick around just Xbox stuff in general. And Xbox really hasn't done anything that I felt like was really worth me to actually want to make a video, taking time out of my day to do it. Once they announced that system, it re-energized me. And I was like, you know what? It's time to start popping these videos out again. And I made 3 videos in that one day. Another one's going up tomorrow. Next one's going up on Friday morning. So, yeah, check them out, man. It's going to be a lot of information around what's going on with the X. With the new Series X. I like that he just told us about they're literally going to just name the system Xbox, and I'm actually going to make a video on that too, and why that's so significant, and why Microsoft needs to just stick with that naming convention going forward and stop messing around with the 18 different names for the Xbox. But outside of that, man, it's a great show as always. Chat has been lit, and I appreciate everybody for coming by.
Well, thanks again for being here. As always, love what you bring to each and every show that we work together on. And of course, last but in no way least, Tempest Son, You are our resident assassin when it comes to, of course, FPS shooters, as well as someone that maybe dips his toe into the MMO universe. At least that's what I hear. I don't know if it's true or not.
That's
but
true.
do me a favor and tell everyone where they can follow you on Twitter. But more importantly, if they want to hit you up on your PlayStation and of course Xbox Live, what is your gamer tag?
The gamer tag is Tempest Sun, and you can find me on Twitter at the Tempest Sun. Just as I'm saying this, I see Phil Spencer.
I had to bring that up.
That's awesome.
Whoever did that is amazing. That's all I can say.
Yeah, you can find me there. By the way, one of the things I am most looking forward to, I said earlier in the show, is Phantasy Star Online 2. You can, if you're on the Insider program, you can sign up for a early beta.
Nice.
So if you get accepted, I hope I am. I will certainly let people know how it is. Good time to be a gamer. There's just it's fun. It's good stuff.
Well, listen, again, this was amazing. I had to throw up that last Phil Spencer holding the rocket launcher. I think that's going to close out the show very nicely. But once again, everyone, I want to thank everybody for being here. This was an amazing show. We have a huge show planned for Thursday's Xbox Factor podcast with Zemi Games, as well as the Welsh Gamer. And of course, if you follow me on Twitter, and I think that you should because I tweet a lot, Friday mornings, Christmas with Mr. and Mrs. Boomstick. It is our annual way of saying thanks to this outstanding community. We are going to be giving away over 10 digital gift cards to whatever you want, whether that be PlayStation Network, Nintendo eShop, or Xbox Live. And some of those 10 winners are going to also get a bonus prize. We got a few physical stuff that we're going to be mailing out. So it's a total of $300 worth of giveaways. And all you have to do is retweet the tweet I had put out before this show went live, where I believe it's Xmas with Mr. and Mrs. Boomstick. You find that tweet, you retweet it, you're going to be roped into the contest, and I'm going to be drawing the first 5 winners at the middle of the show, and of course the last 5 winners at the end of the show. And we'll get all your information and we'll send those codes out to everybody. And that's happening Friday morning, which is December 20th. I also have a tremendous panel of amazing people that are going to be a part of this, and I'm really excited to both Mrs. Boomstick and I are really excited to be able to give back to this outstanding community. And of course, we will see you before Christmas, because we're doing an episode on December 23rd, 2 days before Christmas, and that will be the last one for at least that week. We're going to be taking a little bit of hiatus, giving everyone a break, enjoy the family and friends, and enjoy the holidays. And we'll be back, probably in the new year, but I might do 1 or 2 shows. I will give everyone that information. But thanks again for being here. Please drive safe. Don't drink and drive. Treat others how you want to be treated. And guess what? It doesn't cost anything to be nice. Have a great night, everyone, and we'll see you on the next episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. Boomstick and friends. Good night, everyone.